What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
11 GV. Chapter 291 Gathering of Storms and Clouds. The Island of Gods, in the Temple. Du Lin summoned all the Knights of God under his command. Mahad, Kasara, Bullet, Enel, Moria, Uroj, Doflamingo, Fram, Vegapunk, Morgans. It can be regarded as having both civil and military skills. The first thing that can be made clear is that this news cannot be blocked. Morgan stood up first. In addition to the news of Whitebeard received by the World Economic News Agency under my command, the same is true for other mainstream newspapers on the sea. It is estimated that this report will be spread all over the world soon. Next, the whole world will know about the agreement on Waterstar Island. That is to say, Doflamingo chuckled softly, cha-cha-cha-cha, the world government will definitely come here after hearing the news. They certainly won't miss this opportunity. Moria sneered, I'm afraid I've been searching for the traces of the gods all this time, and by then I'd probably have gone to ambush there early. Isn't that better? Bullet's loud voice echoed in the temple, just start the final battle there. 10 is there to eliminate the last resistance force of the world government, so as to completely bring this world under the control of God. Oh, it sounds really good. The white dragon girl was already moved. She's not necessarily as belligerent as Bullet. God. Mahad looked up at Du Lin, what do you think? Du Lin propped his face with his right hand, and said lazily, then go play. As for whether it is the final battle or something, we will talk about it later. The whole world was shocked again. The news of the destruction of the Charlotte family has caused an uproar in the whole world. Let many people lament whether the era of pirates is over. But now even more exciting news has arrived, even the Whitebeard pirates have directly announced their disbandment. Moreover, Whitebeard himself will go to Waterstar Island to invite the god of the sun to settle all past grievances between the two parties. Anyone who is not a fool can guess that the reason why Whitebeard disbanded the Whitebeard pirates was entirely because of the terrifying pressure brought by the god of the sun. It is because Whitebeard knows that his Whitebeard pirate group is absolutely unable to compete with the god of the sun, and the lessons learned by the Charlotte family were not long ago. Whether it is to avoid or resist is futile, sooner or later it will be found out and then completely destroyed. Rather than doing this, it is better for him to stand up and bear all the hatred alone, so that at least his sons and daughters can be preserved. After understanding such a thing, the mood of the people on the sea became complicated. For a long time, the name Whitebeard was more terrifying than a ghost to the people of the sea. He is recognized by the world as the strongest in the world, the scariest big pirate in the world after Roger's death, and the king of monsters who commands a group of monsters. But now, this monster has been forced to such a point. Even those who have never seen Whitebeard before can't help but feel a sense of sadness. There is no doubt that the disbandment of the Whitebeard pirates means the change of the whole era. It seems that the era of pirates is really about to pass like this. But of course, this news attracted more attention from the monsters. Whitebeard, you old B************************. Is that the way to throw in the towel? Somewhere in New World, Kaido was roaring angrily. He waved the mace in his hand, and smashed a hill in front of him to pieces with one blow. Damn it, what are you kidding, you B*****************. Want to end it all like this? Mr. Kaido, Jhin, who was covered in black leather, said loudly, shall we join in the fun? Isn't it natural? Kaido suddenly turned around, that idiot Linlin is finished, and that B************ D Whitebeard is looking for his own death. But at least Lousy can't miss this good show. Beasts Pirates Strike. In a certain sea area of New World, a pirate ship quietly parked on the sea. The deck of the pirate ship was already littered with corpses, and the blood spilled by the pirates almost dyed the entire deck bright red. On the ship's side on the deck, a man sat here leisurely with his legs crossed. Next to him was a luxurious sword inlaid with various precious stones. His face is quite handsome, and the most eye-catching thing is of course his golden eyes that are as sharp as a falcon. He was flipping through the newspaper, as Whitebeard fighting the sun god. The corner of the man's mouth couldn't help evoking an excited smile. There is no doubt that this is the most decisive battle in the true sense. Then, how can you miss it? Waterstar Island. Then go there. Somewhere in paradise. Is this the end of the Whitebeard pirates? The man with a straw hat on his head flipped through the newspaper and sighed with great emotion. It's really scary, that god of the sun. I never thought that old man would admit defeat so simply and neatly. That grumpy old man was the strongest enemy Captain Roger never defeated. A monster among monsters in the true sense. But now the monster had no choice but to sacrifice himself. Unfortunately, Shuixianxing Island is too far away. Next to the man, the deputy captain, Ben Beckman, with a cigarette in his mouth, felt a little sorry. It's impossible for us to get there now. Yeah, what a pity. The red hair also shook his head, and he pointedly said, this time it should be very lively there. Very, very lively, enough to make the whole world in an uproar. Lively. At this time, a childish voice came from the man's arms. The redhead lowered his head and met a pair of curious big eyes. Oh, has Yuta-chan woke up yet? Immediately there was laughter again on the deck. On a certain part of the sky in the world, inside the huge shadow, the five elders immediately went to see the mysterious Lord I Am because of this incident. We think this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. As long as we prepare well in advance, we will be able to completely wipe out that guy the moment he appears. The ultimate black hand of the world, the mysterious person who holds the world government in secret. I am nodded slightly after thinking for a while. Zhang yes. Chapter 292 Whitebeard Pirates, assemble again. It should be said that Whitebeard's invitation to Du Lin caused an uproar in the sea. In the second half of New World, a large number of pirates have rushed towards Shuixianxing Island. That was Whitebeard's last dance. It was the final battle of the Whitebeard pirates. Who can resist the desire to witness that war with their own eyes? There is no doubt that this is the battle of changing times. Just like when Roger was executed in Logue Town, this is a sign of changing times. Perhaps this is also the harbinger of the end of the era of pirates. How many pirates would not want to go to find out in person? Even the sea area ahead of Waterstar Island has been occupied by the Illuminati. Once the pirates sail to this sea area, they will be attacked mercilessly by that group. Even so, it can't dampen the pirates' desire to watch the battle. Waterstar Island, the island at the end of the Grand Line, which has not yet been discovered in the final island, is becoming more lively than ever before. The sea area near this island has abnormally bad weather conditions, worse than any other place in New World. Moreover, the island is just a deserted island, and there is nothing special about it except for the remains of the message that can unlock the location of the final island by finding all 4 road signs. So in these hundreds of years, even if some people came to this island, they came and left in a hurry, and almost no one settled here. But in this short period of time, the sea around the island has been filled with ships from all walks of life. Pirates from all over the New World, as well as ambitious people with all kinds of wonderful ambitions, have come here one after another, and they want to witness this era-changing battle with their own eyes. Deep down they might as well be rooting for Whitebeard. If Whitebeard is here to die, it seems that the age of pirates may indeed be coming to an end. But if not, if Whitebeard crushes the sun god, it's not over yet. Although this hope is very slim, after all, the god of the sun just dispatched the 4 knights of the gods under him, and they have already defeated the Charlotte family with a crushing advantage. And Whitebeard has even disbanded the Whitebeard pirates. How could he stand alone against that group? But what if a miracle happens? Among the people who came to watch, such delusions were not uncommon. And finally, a week passed like this, and the agreed time came. The sea surface around Shuixianxing Island became lively in an instant. The people who came by boat were very excited. Is it coming? Is that Whitebeard guy coming? Not yet. The island is still empty. It should be today, right? It's today. The appointed time has come. Why hasn't Whitebeard appeared yet? Has he given up? The people from the Illuminati didn't come either. As early as a few days ago, the people who came to see the excitement had already searched the entire Shuixianxing Island inside and out, and then found that it was indeed a deserted island, and there was no one on the island at all. Then everyone retreated to the sea and watched the island quietly from a distance. After all, after this island will become a battleground for monsters to fight. No one wants to be affected by it, they just come to watch the fun. However, even though the agreed time has come, neither party has appeared here. Could it be that everyone has been played? The onlookers inevitably had such thoughts. But it is this time. Among so many ships docked on the sea, suddenly a rather petite sea ship started to move forward. Go straight ahead until you stop on the beach of Waterstar Island. People who were always vigilant about the situation on the sea were immediately shocked. There's a boat. There's a boat going by. Someone has already screamed directly. Who? Which side? Everyone's attention was drawn to it. Even sea ships in other directions of the island are quickly approaching this side. It's time to start. The excitement spread like a virus to all the ships on the sea in an instant. Everyone is staring at that ship. Then, in the anticipation of everyone, a person stepped off the small boat docked on the coast. An unusually tall and burly body, loose blonde hair, a flying captain's coat, a naginata in his hand, and the most conspicuous, Whitebeard like a crescent moon. Whitebeard, it's the day. Here he is. He is here at last. It's finally time to start. Cheers sounded from almost every corner of the sea. The much anticipated event is finally here. Reporters from various newspapers on the sea have already set up their cameras, ready to spread all the things that happened on this island to the whole world as soon as possible. Whitebeard is here. Where is the sun god? Where is he again? Whitebeard landed on Waterstar Island, and he randomly found a slightly flatter and cleaner reef to sit down on. He quietly looked at the ships on the surface. It's really not easy. Disband the pirate group and drive away all the sons and daughters. Especially when he said frankly that he was going to find that guy to settle his grievances, the discussion was even more raging, and everyone said they wanted to be with him. In the end, it even reached the point where he said that if they were disobedient, he would kill himself in front of them. Until then, those children finally left reluctantly. Whitebeard sighed softly. There's no way, the guys from Linlin were all taken away so easily. If you want to be an enemy of that guy, I'm afraid Zhao Qian's can't do it. So now it's the only way to do it. Whitebeard took out a bottle of wine and drank quietly. World government should not miss this opportunity, right? Maybe today really is the time to end it all. Whitebeard thought so. At this time, another ship came straight towards Shuixianxing Island. Whitebeard's expression turned serious for a moment. The onlookers on the sea were equally excited. 11 come pure. Is it finally here? All craned their necks. But. Daddy. On the deck of that ship, a blue firebird flapped its wings and flew over. Whitebeard's eyes widened. Daddy. Then, he saw the familiar faces on the deck. The Whitebeard pirates regroup. Chapter 293. The Arrival of God. The blue flame bird fell from the sky and landed beside Whitebeard. Daddy. The flames began to dissipate from him, and he reverted to Marco. The man is already 26 years old this year, but his face is still relatively immature, and there is a bright smile on his face at this time. Marco. Whitebeard couldn't show any smile, his anger even made the sea around the island tremble. What are you doing? Not only Marco, but his other sons and daughters also quickly jumped off the deck of the big ship that had stopped by the coast. Daddy. Even though Whitebeard looked angry, his sons and daughters still approached with smiles on their faces. How can we let our beloved father face danger alone? Marco smiled all over his face. We know that if we come early, we will definitely be chased away by you, Dad, but it should be fine now. After all, it's too late. Yes, Father. The brothers and sisters behind Marco were also laughing loudly. Don't try to drive us away this time. Whitebeard's forehead was throbbing with veins. You bastards. Have you forgotten that this is my last captain's order? It is enough for him to stay here alone to end all of this. Why do these boys and girls 640 come here together? Even though he has seen the storms on the sea, even though he has experienced countless losses, Whitebeard still can't help but feel angry at this time. We've been away before. Marco took a deep breath and said solemnly, as members of the Whitebeard pirates, we have faithfully followed your last captain's order. But now I'm back for another reason. It's just because the children are worried about the safety of their father. Whitebeard fell silent. Daddy. Marco said seriously, we are your sons and daughters, we are a family, since we are family, no matter what kind of turmoil, we should face it together, right? That's what you taught me when I was a child. Yes, Father. The brothers and sisters behind Marco shouted together, Father, let us fight side by side with you. Whitebeard fell silent. Finally, tears welled up in the corners of his eyes. Idiots. He shook his head, looked at the smiling children in front of him, and said. They, then follow lousies back again. Oh. The momentum is like a rainbow. The Whitebeard pirates reunite. The people watching on the sea were also shocked at this time. That's it, Phoenix Marco. Not only him, but also the other executives of the Whitebeard pirates. What's going on? Isn't the Whitebeard pirates disbanded? Why is everyone gathered here instead? Could it be Whitebeard's trick? But no, if it's a trick, then how could they appear so soon? Shouldn't they hide and catch the enemy by surprise? I couldn't let go of Whitebeard, so I forced myself to come over after disbanding to help. Someone guessed the truth of the matter. So, in the end, the Whitebeard pirates confronted the knights under the command of the Sun God. It's very difficult. Just the 4 knights of God destroyed the entire Charlotte family. Even if all the members of the Whitebeard pirates are assembled, it is too difficult to win this war. However, since the Whitebeard pirates are all here, what about their enemy, the Sun God? Why haven't they appeared yet? The expectations of the onlookers rose again. After all, Whitebeard single-handedly and the Whitebeard pirates assembled are two completely different concepts. Although the strength of the enemy is still beyond doubt, at least the excitement of this war will be improved. So, what about people? What about the god of the sun? Why hasn't he appeared yet? But it is this time. On a certain ship above the sea, a figure suddenly flew up. He attracted everyone's attention in an instant, because he had a pair of wings on his back, a pair of wings made of flames. Coming. Among the crowd, there were exclamations one after another almost instantly. Everyone knows, what does it mean in this world to have a pair of flame wings growing on the back? That is the power that only the priests of the Illuminati or the Sun Knights of the Guardian God have. The light of that god is finally shining gradually. But soon people discovered that it was just an ordinary priest or knight. Not even a knight of the gods. Does the god of the sun care so little about the Whitebeard pirates? Sending someone here just to get rid of them. But the expressions of everyone in the Whitebeard pirates became solemn in an instant. After experiencing the battle on Sphinx Island, they knew that the sun god had the ability to teleport through space. Although there is only one person appearing now, if necessary, they will face thousands of troops in an instant. The Sun Knight flapped his wings and flew over the Water Star Island. He looked down at the Whitebeard pirates from a high position, and then sneered. Kneel down, mortals. God, coming soon. Whitebeard gripped the Naginata tightly in his hand. Is it coming soon? Almost in the next second, above the winged Sun Knight in the sky, a figure quietly appeared. White robes, golden hair, and of course the most conspicuous is the ring with flame patterns on the back of his head. Coming. The people watching on the sea boiled instantly. Finally come. The god of the sun has finally arrived. Of course you won't admit the wrong person. Undoubtedly, that is the god of the sun, the man who stands at the top of the world in the true sense against the world government. No, or should I say, God. Du Lin flapped his wings lightly and floated above the sky. He calmly looked down at the Whitebeard pirates below. Interesting. He smiled and said, didn't it mean that the Whitebeard pirates have disbanded? Could it be some conspiracy deliberately used to deceive me? That was so despicable. I thought today was going to be a one-on-one fight. Don't get me wrong. Marco looked up at Du Lin, and then said loudly, the Whitebeard pirates have indeed disbanded, and now the Edward family is standing in front of you. Oh, quote. Du Lin nodded slightly. That's right, but it doesn't matter, just answer my question first. Did you bring the road sign of the Fishman Island? Chapter 294. Destruction falls from the sky. Road sign. Whitebeard frowned. What did you do to Neptune? Not many people know about it. Besides him and his sons and daughters, there are only 2 Neptune couples from the Fishman Island left. The guy in front of him had already occupied the Fishman Island before, so of course he could only hear this news from the Neptune couple. Rest assured, Du Lin said calmly, whether it's Neptune, his wife, or his sons are all alive and well. You don't think it would be troublesome to get the news from him, do you? Whitebeard's brows drooped, his eyes lowered. Although this guy said that the Neptune family was not harmed, I am afraid that the process is still not settled. Although this guy claims to be a god, he doesn't have the kindness and generosity of God at all. Some are just full of willfulness and cruelty. But is this guy actually looking for the text of the signpost history? In this case, he must have already bought the piece of Wano Kuni. Lin was killed by him, so the stone in her hand must have fallen into this guy's hands. In other words, he already had at least 2 road signs in his hand. In addition to the piece in my hand, I have at least 3 pieces. This guy, do you want to go to the final island and explore the world's first and last secret? It won't be you. Whitebeard looked at Du Lin and said so. What? Du Lin waved his hand, and the Sun Knight who led him here as the coordinates has disappeared. He looked at Whitebeard in surprise again. What are you talking nonsense about? The person Roger is waiting for will not be you. Whitebeard said solemnly. That's it. Du Lin nodded slightly. I don't look like anyone, and I don't need anyone to wait. I am just me, not the son of prophecy, nor the savior of destiny. It's just an ordinary, unremarkable god who is about to rule the world. You just need to tell me now where the stone is. Du Lin looked at Whitebeard. Whitebeard paused for a moment. All the remaining properties of the Whitebeard pirates, as well as the rare treasures accumulated over the years, are all on the ship I brought. There are only 2 boats on the coast. Du Lin casually scanned the 2 ships with his knowledge, and immediately found that there was this huge stone in the cabin of the smaller ship. Very good, Du Lin said with a smile. The flames spread instantly, enveloping the boat, and in the blink of an eye, the boat disappeared. In this case, the last stone has already been obtained. Already able to go to the final island. So, Du Lin was in a good mood, and looked down at Whitebeard. How are you going to end the grievances between us? I'm in a good mood now, and I can listen to your opinion. Whitebeard's expression changed slightly. He stepped forward, and stomped the naginata in his hand heavily on the ground, causing the whole island to shake violently. Since that's the case, then let the 2 of us decide the outcome. It has nothing to do with my children. No matter what the result is, after this battle, the grievances between both of us will be wiped out. Please don't trouble my children again in the future. Oh, Du Lin raised his eyebrows slightly. This is what a qualified father can say. Daddy, Marco couldn't help exclaiming, what are you talking about? They came here to fight alongside their father. Doesn't the current situation mean that nothing can be changed? Can. Du Lin readily accepted, and it was not an embarrassing case. To me, these guys don't really matter. He smiled and said, as long as they are willing to surrender to me and spare their lives, there is nothing impossible. When Whitebeard heard the first half of Du Lin's sentence, his face changed slightly and he was a little happy. But immediately, when Du Lin said the second half of the sentence, his expression became annoyed again. Don't even think about it, you be asterisk 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 D. Before Whitebeard could answer, Marco yelled angrily, we will never bow to you. That would be really helpless. Du Lin shook his head. For him, Marco and others are certainly not a serious problem, even the black fat man who was mixed in the crowd is the same. However, Du Lin simply doesn't like letting the enemy go. The enemy should be completely destroyed. Daddy. Hearing what Du Lin said, the faces of Marco and others were a little happy. It seems that we have no other choice. Whitebeard pursed his lips, and in the next second, the naginata in his hand had been raised, the black hockey was wrapped around the body of the knife, and the tip of the knife was pointing directly at Berlin. Hu la 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 la, children. Then, follow me to meet the enemy. Oh, incredibly high response. The Whitebeard pirates are no more, but the Edward family, formed by Edward Newgate and his sons and daughters, is still alive. Zero looking for flowers. Now, they are going to challenge the strongest enemy. It's really bloody. Du Lin smiled. It should be said that he is indeed a positive character in the hot-blooded comics. Really passionate enough. Let me, a little bit burn up. The long sword like a dead branch was pulled out of the void by Du Lin. In the next second, a golden flame started to burn from the tip of the sword, and then quickly covered the entire long sword. The entire long sword turned into a raging flame at this moment. Literally ignited. Bring it on. Du Lin was condescending. Let me bring down the destruction on you. Is it finally about to start? Among the many big boats on the sea, a small boat that can only carry one person is like a small windsurfing boat. The man with a big knife behind his back is looking at the island not far away intently. Zero. His golden pupils were full of excitement. Who is the scariest? The strongest battle for supremacy is about to begin now. He's not alone in thinking this way. But actually. The moment Du Lin pulled out the flaming sword, Whitebeard's expression was extremely solemn, as if water was about to drip. Follow me. Whitebeard had crushed the ground, and his huge body was blowing towards Du Lin like the wind. The naginata in his hand dragged a long black lightning bolt, and the white shock fruit ability was winding around the blade. Raise the naginata. In the next second, he immediately split Washin and fell towards Du Lin with an unrivaled momentum. Behind him, all the members of the Whitebeard pirates have rushed forward. They have all experienced the battle on Sphinx Island, and everyone knows how exaggerated the strength of the monster in front of them is. Even the expeditionary force that the world government tried its best was easily wiped out by him. Therefore, everyone has to do their best, and only in this way may they be able to struggle to a sliver of life. Facing Whitebeard's all-out blow, Du Lin just swung his sword casually. However, it is at this moment when Mars hits the Earth. The sky was suddenly torn apart. Or it should be said that the clouds in the sky were torn apart. A beam of light has already arrived at the top of the island almost at the same time, almost on top of Du Lin's head. As fast as real light. As fast as thunder, there is no way to dodge. Destruction. 3 fell from the sky. Chapter 295. In the shadows. Fast, it's an exaggeration of fast. When Whitebeard jumped up, the sky was still calm, and nothing unusual could be seen. But when the naginata in Whitebeard's hand fell, the beams of light falling from the sky almost reached the top of Du Lin's head. It was almost there. Whitebeard didn't even realize what was going on. The people watching on the surface of the sea only felt the light flickering in front of their eyes, but they had no time to think effectively. But not fast enough. Du Lin, who was wielding a flaming blade, had a red light in his eyes. Even though he hadn't experienced any fierce battles, observation hockey's ability to foresee the future has been mastered by him like a self-taught man over the long years. No matter how fast these speeds of light are, as long as they have been spotted a few seconds or even tens of seconds before they are coming, then the 15th 3 has enough time to respond. Shadowland. The flames scattered from Du Lin's blade became pitch black at this moment. This is not a flame at all, but a shadow maniac. Shadows from the Shadowlands. Moria's ability to awaken from the high-level fire gifted by Du Lin allows him to communicate with the Shadow Kingdom. He can open the door to the Shadow World at will and borrow the shadow power in it. Of course Du Lin also has the same ability, but he has always thought that this ability is useless. After all, this kind of ability really doesn't match him very well. But now seems to be the time when this ability comes in handy. The thick shadow instantly enveloped Du Lin and the Whitebeard pirates below. Immediately following the next moment. Boom. The sky and the earth are roaring. The world has lost its color, and the world has lost its sound. The intense white light swallowed everything, almost covering the sky. Many of the onlookers on the sea in the distance even lost their eyesight in an instant, and the strong light made them burst into tears. The sea sank in an instant, and the invisible force turned the sea surface into a basin. The turbulent shock wave began to rage on the sea surface, and they smashed the ship closest to the island to pieces in an instant, and continued to spread outward. A terrible storm devours everything on the sea. The people watching on the sea didn't even realize what happened, the storm had already completely swept them away. Then the waves started to roll. The turbulent waves with a height of tens of hundreds of meters rushed towards the distance one after another, and the sea immediately boiled because it seemed flat. Just in the blink of an eye, this calm sea area has been completely destroyed, leaving only a mess. And at the same time, in the sky, very high in the sky. Not 1,000 meters, not 10,000 meters, but 100,000 meters, the height of Tien Wanmi is right. This is a height that is hardly noticeable in any case on the sea below. The huge shadow quietly floats here. Right in the heart. The mysterious person who covered his whole body in black robes, the real ruler of the world government, the guy named I Am, had a smile in his voice. Did it hit? Behind him, the 5 elders were almost boiling. Did you hit that guy? Didn't he escape early? This time, there was no mercy, and the full power of the weapon was directly aroused. There is no doubt that no matter how powerful a guy is, if he bears the shelling just now, he will be smashed to pieces and turned into dust and smoke in an instant. But that guy is different. The B**************** D who claims to be a god, has mastered the ability to move in space. If he is allowed to react, then no matter how terrifying the attack is, it is meaningless. He can easily dodge. I Am didn't answer. Just quietly observe. The screen of unknown material projected the scene of the sea below. The waves are constantly turbulent, there are constant explosions and roars on the sea surface, and even magma is rolling up from the bottom of the sea. Everything, it seems like the end of the world. Did it really work? Even I Am, who conquered the entire world 800 years ago and surpassed everything during this long period of time, is still somewhat difficult to determine. He is full of confidence at all times. No matter what kind of enemy he faces, he never thinks that he will fail, but only, this self-confidence disappears when facing the sun god. All we can do now is wait. Below the sea, at the end of the Grand Line, the island named Waterstar Island has completely disappeared at this time. Not only the island itself, but also the undersea rock formation and the continental shelf have been blasted into a huge hole, and the seawater is pouring into it crazily. And in this turbulent sea, the few ships that survived the accident are drifting with the current, 0. What the hell happened? What was that just now? Among the survivors, someone was shouting like a madman at the top of their lungs. I don't understand what happened just now. What is that light? In an instant, the entire Shueishan Star Island has disappeared. Is it divine punishment? Did the gods send divine punishment to the sun god and the Whitebeard pirates? The survivors screamed, roared, growled, and watched. No, where did God's punishment come from? Among the group of people who had almost collapsed, only one man with sharp eyes remained calm, and even his face had an unconcealable look of horror. It's a weapon. It's a weapon in the hands of the world government. There was an inexplicable brilliance in the man's eyes. Of course it's aimed at that sun god. The world government wants to wipe him out. So, Did the result really meet their wishes? Mercury Star Island has completely disappeared, and the people on that island are also missing. So have they been completely killed by the shelling just now? Did the Whitebeard pirates, as well as the god of the sun, die in the shelling just now? Who can tell him the answer? The answer is 1. Well, it's a close call. This is a black space, there is no sky, no ground, no up, down, left, and right. The black mist is endless. Du Lin was floating in this mist, and he didn't need to flap his wings anymore. There was no gravity in this space. In front of him are Whitebeard and his sons and daughters. At the moment when the bombardment was about to fall, he dragged everyone into the shadow space. What the hell is? Whitebeard's eyes widened. Is this the space teleportation ability that this guy has mastered? It actually brought them into this strange space in an instant. It's time to say thank you to me, Day. Du Lin smiled and said, no matter how you say it, I must have saved your life. Snort. Whitebeard just sneered. Well, it doesn't matter. Du Lin shrugged, although the battle venue has been changed, there is no difference. Get ready, because of it. Chapter 296 The Destruction of the Whitebeard Pirates. Du Lin looked at the Whitebeard pirates in front of him quietly, his smile was gentle. But it was a little hard to imagine, but the cruelest words were spoken from such a gentle mouth. I still have some business to do later, so this time I will be a little more serious and try to end this battle as soon as possible. Crazy B************* D. Let me lead the charge, donkey. The blue flame instantly illuminated the dark area, and Marco had turned into a blue firebird, dragging a long and gorgeous tail feather, vibrating his wings, piercing the void, and shot to Du in an instant. In front of Lin. With hockey wrapped around its sharp claws, it kicked Du Lin mercilessly. Phoenix Seal. Marco. Whitebeard gritted his teeth. You be ********** D is too anxious. Even if your ability is almost immortal, you can't make it so big, the kid in front of you is a real monster. All attack, cover Marco. All members of the Whitebeard pirates attack. But at the same time, Marco's claws had already reached Lin. The blade in Du Lin's hand was in flames. Then, he swung his sword. It doesn't even have a formal move name, it's just a random swing of the sword in the true sense. But in the next moment, the flame burst instantly. The golden flames were like lotus flowers, radiating in all directions layer upon layer, and the surging fireworks even rushed hundreds of meters into the sky. Wow! The screams in the fire eyes were so ear-piercing that a figure flew out of the flames like a cannonball. Marco! Whitebeard yelled. Marco's body was covered with golden flames, and his right leg was nowhere to be seen. The blue flame of the phoenix fruit is desperately emerging from the body, trying to heal his injuries. But the golden flame swallowed the blue flame in an instant. Or it should be said that Marco's own flame actually became the fuel of the golden flame at this moment, which actually made the golden flame more turbulent. This is also of course, the flames released by the destroying demon sword Leviathan are like maggots with bones attached to them, they will attach to any object and burn blazingly before the energy is exhausted. Why can't flame be used as fuel? There's still time to look around. Du Lin smiled, and raised the blade in his hand, Hado's 91, Senju's brilliance. The flames on the blade exploded in an instant. Then it exploded in the next second, turning into countless meteors, covering the Whitebeard pirates. Du Lin attached 2 powers of judgment and destruction to this blow. So the meteors automatically navigated and bombarded all the members of the Whitebeard pirates in an instant. Unable to evade, unable to resist, all that can be done is to bear silently. In this void, dazzling flame flowers bloomed one after another in an instant. Wow! The screams were endless. With just this blow, the Whitebeard pirates lost more than 2/3 of their staff. Only a few senior cadres and Rybert himself were able to survive this blow by chance. But even so, the cadres were seriously injured. Wow! Foil Beast vomited blood, and one of the swords in his hand was broken. What kind of monster is this guy? It was just a small part of it that was hit casually, but it was already hard for him to resist. How could there be such a scary guy in the world? A-hole stuff. Whitebeard roared and came towards him, and the naginata entwined with 2-color hockey and translucent shock waves flew across the void like a meteor of destruction, and was about to split Du Lin in two. The corner of Du Lin's mouth curled up. God avoids it. Instantly, a black flame burst out from the blade in his hand. At this moment, flame and hockey become fully one. Whitebeard's pupils shrunk. Boom. As if the sound of opening up the world, the fog in this dark space was directly dispelled. Even darker than the shadow, the lightning radiated in all directions, seemingly reaching the deepest part of this space. Then, well, Yizzy's huge body shot backwards quickly, and the knife almost came out of his hand. The knife in his hand, one of the legendary 12 craftsmanship of the supreme large knife, the precious knife named Kong Yunchi, even at this time there was a gap the size of an ear. How? This blow is stronger than Roger's, right? Du Lin laughed. Certainly stronger than Roger. Whether it is hockey or strength, Du Lin has achieved a comprehensive surpassing of Roger, and even the least skilled swordsmanship may not be inferior. So when he swung the knife, the power was naturally far greater than Roger's. Pooh. Whitebeard spat out blood, and there was no doubt about the strength of this guy in front of him. Even with an opponent as strong as Roger, he can keep pace with it, but when facing this guy in front of him, it is very difficult to just take everything from him. However, even so, Whitebeard still does not admit defeat. Flash shock. The one who bumped towards Du Lin was a man named Diamond Chaozi. Du Lin just casually raised his left hand, and pinched the man's head. Chaozi, who was strong enough to pull up a hill, couldn't move at all no matter how hard he tried. Don't you know that 913 diamonds can also burn? Boom. Flames exploded in Du Lin's palm. The blazing flame instantly wrapped Jozi's huge body. With Du Lin's flick, his huge body shot out and gradually shrunk. Joe's. In the eyes of Whitebeard, the flames on the body finally faded away. However, the man named Diamond Joe's has been burnt to such an extent that only a lump of coke remains. While maintaining his diamond form, his body was set on fire. When the ability disappears, his life is already gone. A-hole stuff. Whitebeard roared and attacked Du Lin again. Behind him are the few remaining executives of the Whitebeard pirates. Then, let's end this. Du Lin chuckled. Du Lin turned into a flame. Yellow and red flames together constitute his illusory body. On the blade in his hand, the destructive flames surged out like a flood, and spread mightily upwards, forming a large river flowing backwards. God avoids. Du Lin decided to use Roger's moves to end the fight. As a result, the flame that could burn even the soul swallowed everything in front of it in an instant. Chapter 297 Blackbeard, Kaido. The trick Du Lin used at this time, not to mention comparing it with Roger's original one, even compared with the one he used just now, there is a huge gap. The overwhelming flames formed a terrifying slash that swept through everything. Strictly speaking, God's avoidance is not a single move swordsmanship. That's not cutting people with a sword, but hitting people with hockey's shock wave. But now it is the flame that acts as the shock wave, the flame that burns the soul to ashes. The sea of flames was mighty and mighty, spreading all the way to the end of Du Lin's sight. He has directly returned to his original appearance, watching quietly. After all, the flame gradually dissipated, leaving only a few flaming objects. Whitebeard and his remaining children. At this point they have become torches and are burning. But this kind of burning can't last too long. Soon it will all be burned to ashes. Du Lin sighed softly. This is the end. The legendary great pirate Whitebeard, and his Whitebeard pirates have completely become history today. The era of pirates is over here, right? Du Lin thought so. Then he smiled. What are you still hiding there for? In this dark space, besides Du Lin, there is another living person. The little black fat man of the Whitebeard pirates, he shrank aside from the beginning, and had no intention of charging with his father and brothers and sisters at all. So he barely survived Du Lin's attack. The man named Teach looked at everything in front of him tremblingly. When his father Whitebeard announced the disbandment of the Whitebeard pirates, his heart was very tangled. On the one hand, this has almost declared the disillusionment of his dream. Without the Whitebeard pirates to rely on, the chances of him finding the fruit he dreamed of could be said to be negligible. But on the other hand, he felt a little lucky. At least in this way, you don't have to fight against that horrible monster. Of course he knew what would happen if the mantis arms were used as a car, and there was no possibility of victory from the very beginning. But just when he was thinking of breaking up and going their separate ways, all the cadres of the Whitebeard pirates gathered together tacitly, and they said that they would face the powerful enemy with their father. Teach almost cried at that time. Isn't it good to live? Why do you have to seek your own death? Of course he wanted to escape, but Marcos bastards didn't give him any chance to escape. He could only be dragged to this battlefield, and then face the sun god. The actual battle was far more dire than any of Teach's envisioned possibilities. The Whitebeard pirates under Papa's command didn't even have the strength to touch that guy, but in the blink of an eye everyone was wiped out. Blackbeard shuddered with fear. Compared with such power, what is the dark fruit he is looking for? It's just not worth mentioning at all. Admit defeat. I admit defeat. Although there is no ground in this space, Teach still screamed and fell forward, knelt down. I am willing to join your army, please be merciful to me. Bar. Du Lin looked at him quietly. Compared to Whitebeard, this guy is almost the opposite. Really ugly. Du Lin raised his hand. 90 of Hado, black coffin. Around Teach, the flames rose suddenly, forming 4 walls that went up all the way, and finally closed at high altitude. Teach only had time to change his face suddenly, and then he was wrapped in this cube or the coffin. It's just that although the name is Black Coffin, it is actually completely irrelevant to Black. After all, it was the energy sourced by flames. If we had to say it seriously, this blow should be called the Golden Coffin. But no matter what, with the formation of this move, everything is indeed over. Du Lin didn't even bother to look any further, and directly opened the exit of the shadow area, and went out from the shadows. Although it has the ability to communicate with this area, it is easy to be eroded by shadows if it stays in this area for a long time. It's better to go out early. At this time, the outside world, the sea area where Shuexian Qingdao was once located. The waves are still turbulent, but after all, they are not as rough as before. The few ships that survived the attack just now can finally float on the sea with peace of mind. They were desperately looking for something on the sea. Looking for all possible traces. But in the end nothing was found. Is it all over? Was everything destroyed in the attack just now? The people who survived exclaimed, whether it is the Whitebeard pirates or the sun god has been killed. At this time, a large ship suddenly came from a distance. A huge monster stood on the bow of the big ship at the front. Kaido. It's Kaido. This guy is here too. So the people who recognized his identity as a matter of course have already started to exclaim. The only remaining great pirate in the new world. The last remnant of the pirate era. Of course he will come too. It's just that it's a bit too late to come, the daily cut is over. People sighed. But what should be the outcome of this battle? Both Whitebeard and the Sun God were killed. Wait, who could be behind all of that? Apart from them, there should be only world government left, right? Damn it. Kaido stood on the bow of the big ship, looking at the chaotic sea in front of him. His face was full of anger. Did those two guys really get killed like this? What are you kidding? Both Whitebeard and that B************* D kid are enemies he recognizes. Could it be that they were killed just like that? King Zhao's Kaido has also seen the bombardment that fell from the sky. After all, he has been here once in Sphinx Island. But that time, the kid managed to get out of the way. Could it be that this time it was killed by a miss? Kaido frowned. At this moment, behind him, in the shadow cast by his huge body, a figure slowly emerged. Oh, Kaido, are you here too? A smile came from behind. Kaido turned his head abruptly, and then he saw Du Lin walking out of his shadow slowly. Are you all right, guy? Kaido laughed loudly, and the mace was unceremoniously thrown towards Du Lin. But the next moment, Du Lin had already floated above the sky, dodging his attack lightly. He looked up at the sky. In the sky, someone was watching him. Chapter 298 Confront Kaido. End the battle of the Age of Pirates. This guy is still alive. The five elders have already exclaimed, can such an attack still not kill him? What kind of monster is this guy? The island below has been beaten to ashes and wiped out, why is this kid still acting as if nothing happened? No, it's not even considered as if nothing happened, he was completely unscathed. Didn't it hit? I sighed softly, this will be troublesome. The reason why this guy still looks so unscathed is of course only because he was not attacked in the first place, and he used his space teleportation ability to avoid it. If such a sudden attack can't solve this guy, then it will be too difficult to kill him. Even for the five elders, the expressions on their faces became quite solemn at this moment. If even a sneak attack can't solve this guy, is there any way for them to win? All we can hope for is. They looked up at the relatively slender figure in front of them. 013. Master the only one he can rely on now is this adult. Even without relying on this weapon, this lord's strength has also surpassed the limit of human beings. If there is anyone in this world who can contend against that B***********, then it must be Lord But, the concern in the eyes of the five elders still hasn't disappeared. Even if Mr. has the strength to compete with that guy and even win the battle, he can't catch that guy. That guy has the ability to move in space, even if he can defeat him, he cannot be defeated. Damn it, how could there be such a difficult guy in the world? Master do you want to continue? The five elders asked cautiously. It's no longer necessary. Shook his head lightly, there is no need to continue the battle where there is no winner or loser. If you continue to fight, not only will you not be able to take down this guy, but you will be seen by him to be false. Isn't the gain outweigh the loss? Let's go. The ruler of the world said so quietly. Then, the huge black shadow floating in the sky slowly left. Du Lin was still floating in the air, looking up at the sky. The eyes cannot see it, but the color of knowledge and knowledge can be perceived. They have left. Sure enough, it is still too early to say the final battle. Then, that's it. Du Lin stretched slightly, with a slightly lazy smile on his face. Don't worry, the world is still very wide, and the area that I haven't touched is also very wide. There is no need to rush to a decisive battle with that group of people. On the contrary, Du Lin doesn't feel that the world government has become stronger at a speed comparable to his own. Do you know what is called cheating player? D. What are you looking around for? The fiery breath has come from bottom to top, directly towards Du Lin. Du Lin just waved his left hand casually. Although it was just a wave of his hand, the sharp slash still took shape, easily splitting the pillar of fire. Among the crowd watching on the sea not far away, the man with the golden eyes lit up immediately. Where did that D Whitebeard go? Kaido was not discouraged even if he missed a hit, and immediately turned into a huge green dragon and soared into the sky, staring at Lin covetously. Of course it's dead. Du Lin smiled and said, you don't think he can defeat me, do you? Ooh. Kaido laughed loudly, that's right, how could that old man win you over? Of course he must die. Only a guy like you deserves BBBCD, what lousy expects. Du Lin sighed softly, you can't even defeat Whitebeard, why would you want to defeat me? You can win if you play the game, you will only know if you have played it. Kaido growled, thunder. He roared to the sky, and then the roar turned into thunder. The thunder all over the sky smashed towards Du Lin in an instant. Judging by the momentum, it is not an exaggeration to say that he is the one with the thunder fruit ability. It can only be said that in this world, whether it is a thunder fruit ability user or a Mera fruit ability user, they really have no reputation. Fortunately, both Enel and Fram have obtained Du Lin's advanced fire, and they can evolve their abilities to a higher level. But facing the sky full of thunder, Du Lin didn't even have the thought of avoiding it. The thunder unceremoniously landed on his body, and then splashed in all directions. Tisk, it's useless. Kaido smacked his lips lightly. This D's defense is even far superior to his own, even Linlin's stinky old woman is far behind. Normal attacks can't hurt him at all. It's really helpless. Du Lin shook his head lightly. Forget it, since that's the case, let me end the vigorous era of pirates today. His voice was not loud, but the distant onlookers who listened to the movement with their ears upright still heard it, so they couldn't help being moved at this moment. Whitebeard has been killed. Now even Kaido has been targeted. Could it be said that the era of pirates is really coming to an end here today? Everyone couldn't help holding their breath, for fear that their breathing would affect the next battle. Ooh, that's really good. Go ahead and try it. Kaido laughed loudly, his huge body contracted, and he had already turned into the usual dragon man form. Flame clouds wrapped around his body, he would take out the huge wine gourd and pour wine into his mouth. Wine Dragon 8 trigrams. Kaido's already huge body became stronger, and the facial makeup made of scales on his face changed, and his whole person became ferocious like a ghost. Is this his devil fruit ability awakening? Du Lin thought so. Roar Thunder 8 trigrams. Kaido was as fast as a gust of wind. The huge body rushed directly to the top of Du Lin like lightning, and the huge mace fell head on. Du Lin raised his hand. 99 of Bakudo. Forbidden. The jet black strips came from nowhere and wrapped around Kaido's body in an instant, directly wrapping his huge body into a black mummy. Then, one after another, nails flew over, completely nailing the cloth strips to death. The mace that hit Du Lin head on couldn't be hit no matter what. Chapter 299 Defeat. Hawkeye. Bakudo of Sequence 99, of course, is not easily able to break free. Kaido was struggling hard, and the black cloth strips that bound him were twisted because of this, not only hadn't been torn apart yet. So, the time has come to end the battle. Du Lin raised his right hand and aimed at the huge monster in front of him. Stop it. Roaring like a heavy bomber, the huge black pterosaur flapped its wings and flew over. Its long mouth covered Haki, and it was like a spear trying to pierce Du Lin's stomach directly. Ember, the man who wants to follow is now in a desperate situation, how can he still sit still? Like him, there is Quinn on the deck below. This guy has turned into a human beast form, with the modified braided tail and arms raised, and lasers are shot at Du Lin at the same time. It's noisy. Du Lin frowned slightly. In the battle between myself and Kaido, what happened to these two guys? Quiet. The invisible momentum runs down like a giant dragon. The body of Yan Calamity Ember, who spread his wings like a bomber, trembled instantly, and jet black flashes splashed all over his body. He can't even flap his wings to fly above the sky. He actually fell straight down. What was even more unbearable was Quinn below. He slumped down on the ground, trembling all over, his face was already pale, and beads of sweat kept rolling down from his forehead. He was retching with nausea, even foam was flowing. What kind of unreasonable conquerors is this? Is there such an exaggerated conquerors in the world? It's just that the momentum alone has already made him lose his combat effectiveness, and he can't even stand up. Monster. What kind of monster is this? The two top cadres of the beast's pirates were thus out of combat. Quinn sat paralyzed on the ground, and Jhin was even more unlucky, falling directly into the sea. This way no one can stop Du Lin. But it is this time. Fire Dragon Torch. Kaido's body suddenly swelled and turned into a huge green dragon. Finally, he broke free from the cloth that bound him. Flames covered the surface of his body, and a huge flame dragon stretched across the sky. The sea below is evaporating, and the white mist is rising. Thang Long 8 trigrams. The dragon's head turned black, dragging a long black lightning bolt. Kaido bumped towards Du Lin. Dragon. Du Lin smiled, then. He raised his right hand. Hado no 99, 5 swirling dragons of destruction. 5 huge flame dragons emerged beside Du Lin. Each of these fire dragons is only slightly smaller than Kaido in size. The 5-headed dragon rushed towards Kaido in the next instant. The first dragon wrapped its slender body around Kaido's neck, and the second and third dragons opened their mouths and bit Kaido's body. Kaido roared to break free, the 3 dragons that bound him. But in the next second, the remaining 2 fire dragons raised their heads and bumped towards him. Boom. The flames spread out in the next instant, forming a huge cloud of flames, directly covering a small half of the sky. The violent hot wind spread in all directions, and the people who watched the battle in the distance felt hot all over their bodies, as if their bodies were about to be ignited. It's amazing power. The man with eagle-like sharp eyes couldn't help but marvel, is this the god of the sun? It's as unattainable as the sun. The explosion in the sky gradually subsided, and the flames gradually extinguished. In the gradually dissipating smoke, a huge shadow was falling down. It was a huge green dragon, but at this time it was no longer the martial arts it was before. The scales on his body had been blasted to pieces, and even if they were intact, they were covered with a layer of black. The whole dragon looked extremely miserable at this moment. However, Du Lin knew that Huo actually maintained the form of a dragon, which meant that he hadn't lost his ability to fight. Bad wind. The falling Shenlong stopped suddenly, then raised its head and breathed out. Huge wind blades converged into a storm and poured towards Du Lin. Du Lin still has no intention of evading. The fans didn't land on him, the flames that emerged in front of him turned into an impenetrable wall, easily blocking all Kaido's attacks. It's amazing. Du Lin applauded lightly, and said appreciatively, after receiving a blow like mine head-on, you still haven't lost consciousness. In terms of endurance, only Zongluo Linlin can compare with you, right? B************* D. Thing. Kaido transformed into a draconian form again. It's just that now compared to just now, he looks abnormally depressed, his limbs are slightly distorted, and blood is continuously flowing on his face. Ask for flowers. David. Thunder 8 trigrams. In the final analysis, Kaido's various 8 trigrams are nothing more than increasing strength, and the moves are actually similar. But there is no doubt that this blow is now his strongest 8 trigrams. The huge mace struck towards Du Lin again. Du Lin finally drew his sword. Leviathan was pulled out of the void by him again. One knife cremation. The golden blade traversed the sky in the next instant. This senior Hado was slashed by Du Linhua at this time. A flying slash made of flames. Oh, on the surface of the sea, the eyes of the eagle-eyed man could no longer close, amazing swordsmanship. The flame gradually faded away. Another shadow fell down, and his body was still covered with brilliant golden flames. It's just that Kaido who fell this time can no longer maintain the form of using his ability, and he has returned to his original state. After sustaining 2 consecutive rounds of Super Hado above 90, even Kaido couldn't bear it anymore. The man also finally fell into the sea. Boss Kaido. Fortunately, the Pirates of Beasts pirates are not in good condition except Quinn, who was targeted by Du Lin. At this time, they all jumped into the sea to rescue Kaido. By the way, I also want to get Jhin back. It's over. The onlookers felt a little dazed at this moment. Is it that easy? So easy and it's over. That Kaido of the Beasts is so vulnerable in front of this sun god. Knocked him out to sea in just 2 strikes. What kind of monster is this? Du Lin turned his head at this time and looked towards the sea on one side. God of the sun. The man with golden eyes slid the boat and approached quickly, and his other hand was pressed on the handle of the big knife behind his back. Shen is an amazing swordsman. Quote. Oh, the corners of Du Lin's mouth twitched slightly. Mahawk, right, we meet again. Met once in Logue Town. Although it is still quite self-sufficient now, but now that I have seen such sword skills, I can no longer bear it. Mahawk drew out the big knife behind his back, pointing the tip at Du Lin. Come and fight again. Chapter 300. Swordsmanship. Purpose. Du Lin looked at the man in front of him. It looks like he is about 5 or 6 years older than him, but he is still quite young. There was an excited smile on the slightly green face at this time, and the eyes that were as sharp as a falcon were full of fire. Of course, it is the fiery passion between men, and the excitement that only appears when facing a strong enemy. Du Lin sighed softly. You're still so young, why are you so eager to die? A person with real strength should understand how huge the gap between us is, even if it's just a meeting. The future Hawkeye is of course the top powerhouse in this sea. He has become a famous sword with the rank of 12 crafts, and is known as the world's #1 swordsman. Even if you look at the whole world, there are very few people who can defeat him. There is no doubt that he is a super monster that can be compared with the pirate emperors. 310, but the current Hawkeye is still too immature after all. He is only in his 20s now. Even if he is already strong enough to be called a swordsman, there is still a huge gap from the real apex. Not to mention, even if Hawkeye has the strength of his peak period in principle, so what? For Du Lin, who can easily deal with Whitebeard and Kaido at this time, enemies of that level are just a little more effort. The gap is simply too huge. Hawkeye should be more aware of this kind of thing. This guy shouldn't be inflated to the point where he thinks he can fight against someone who can beat Kaido in 3 or 2 moves, right? Of course I know that the gap between us seems like a moat. The blade in Hawkeye's hand gradually became pitch black. Hawkeye is very strong, but obviously he is far from mastering the mystery of the black knife. If I wait until I become stronger before challenging you, maybe the situation will be better. No, it shouldn't get any better. You will all become stronger, and of course I will become stronger too. It's just that I can't hold back anymore. Hawkeye smiled brightly. If you give up the challenge because of your strength and my weakness, then this challenge itself will be meaningless. The so-called sword is to draw it when you want to draw it. Du Lin nodded slightly. And Zoro is the top iron in the same vein. It doesn't matter if I die by your hands. Hawkeye clenched the sword in his hands, and said frantically, come and show me your sword. Really? Du Lin shook his head lightly. It should be said that he is a lunatic, or he doesn't know what to do. Here it is, young man. Hawkeye had jumped directly from his boat, and threw himself towards Du Lin who was in midair without hesitation. Du Lin smiled. Although this kind of behavior is very stupid, he doesn't hate it very much. To die for one's own dreams is the main theme of this sea. In order to chase their own goals, the guy who does everything at all is certainly not annoying. Then let it come and play with you. Du Lin smiled lightly, and flicked his fingers. In the next second, in the void, a long sword like a dead branch shot out. When, in midair, there was a bang, and Hawkeye was directly smashed into the sea, a huge hole was punched out in the sea, and the waves splashed everywhere. What? Hawkeye quickly rose from the sea, and he looked at the long sword suspended in midair with a look of astonishment. A weapon capable of auto combat. Is this also the magical ability possessed by the sun god? What shocked Hawkeye even more was yet to come. The long sword that looked like a dry branch suddenly rose in midair. Then, down, an incomparably brilliant golden slash stretched down in an instant. Hawkeye's sharp eagle-like pupils shrank to the limit at this moment. What's this? Slash. Flying slash. Or a large-scale exaggerated super powerful flying slash. Hawkeye couldn't even bear the thought of confrontation, so he tried his best to dodge to the side. Laugh. With a slightly dull sound, the surging waves stopped in an instant. A bottomless chasm opened above the sea, and the entire sea was divided into 2 in such an instant. Hawkeye turned his head back in astonishment, and the gap continued to spread until the end of his line of sight. What an amazing swordsmanship. Hawkeye raised his head, the sword was still floating in the sky, but Hawkeye's eyes had gradually turned from initial astonishment to fanaticism. Such a sword. He pounced on it again. Although it is just a sword, it is not just a sword. That is simply the most powerful swordsman in the world. Eagle-eyed, crazy as dumb. The collision of swords and swords unfolded in midair instantly, and the sound of jingling rang non-stop. Hawkeye was blasted into the sea time and time again, but would fight back immediately. But soon he discovered that the sword technique of this sword has changed. The sword technique of this sword became exactly like his own. No, it should be more subtle. There is such a thing. Hawkeye was not surprised but pleased. He has never experienced this kind of battle against himself, so he is content with it. On the other side, when Hawkeye and Leviathan were fighting fiercely, Dulin had already lightly landed on the beast's pirate's boat. What do you think? What do you think? Quinn hadn't recovered from the previous conqueror's shock. He tried hard to stand up, but in the end he could only continue to sit slumped on the ground. His body was shaking, his teeth collided with each other, and the sound he made was almost shapeless. Even the boss of Kaido was defeated by this man so easily, there is no point in resisting. All that can be done now is to wait for the judgment of this god. Quinn had mixed feelings. Dulin didn't even bother to look at him, but just quietly floated above the deck, watching the battle between Hawkeye and Leviathan on the other side. Such contempt, according to Quinn's consistent character, has already exploded. But at this moment, what emerged in his heart was neither anger nor embarrassment, but rejoicing. I am glad that I am just an insignificant 3.8 character, and I am glad that the monster in front of me will not target him deliberately. Quinn finally lowered his head dejectedly. He felt his own insignificance. Dulin didn't wait too long, and the members of the beast's pirates who jumped into the sea to rescue quickly boarded the car. They brought back all the two people who fell into the sea, Kaido and Jhin. Kaido has passed out completely, looking miserable, but Jhin still has his own consciousness. After breaking away from the influence of the seawater and passing through the period of weakness, Jhin immediately stood up. Although his body was trembling slightly, he was still stable when he pulled out the knife from his waist. You guy, what is your purpose? You can obviously destroy them at will, so what are you waiting for now? Dulin just smiled. I want to ask Kaido a question. Healing flames fell and covered Kaido's body. Chapter 301 Hawkeye is attached. Kaido's decision. Dulin's original setting is that the healing flame is a power that can only be used when he transforms into a ball form. After all, the three different forms should have their own characteristics. If they are confused, then a certain form may not have the meaning of existence. But after this ability really came true, Dulin felt very inconvenient. The destructive flame is okay, but every time the healing flame is used, it must first be transformed into a ball shape, which is too troublesome. But fortunately, Dulin thought of a solution to this problem. It's not that difficult either. Just like the method of attaching Haki to the fire, Duming attached the fire to himself, and then he could use the fire to release flames. Strictly speaking, using this method, he can even release the flames that incinerate everything in the phoenix form at will. But the problem is that the consumption of using fire as a medium to cast flames is much greater than that of direct casting, and the result is not worth the candle. Moreover, the phoenix form possesses not only the ultimate destructive power, but also absolute defense power, which is the strongest form that can be immune to damage. Long story short, Dulin now releases healing flames in human form. 11 is very reasonable. The yellow flame has wrapped Kaido's huge body. Kaido was seriously injured after being hit by Dulin's two Hado attacks just now. Now his whole body was almost scorched, and there was even a huge wound on his chest that almost cut him off, not to mention the internal organs inside, which had been completely destroyed. Strictly speaking, he is still alive at this time, and the vitality Kaido has displayed is enough to make Dulin even slightly astonished. But since he is still alive, the healing flame can completely heal him. What this flame possesses is almost the power to reverse time. Visible to the naked eye, Kaido's body wrapped in flames is recovering rapidly. The huge wound on his chest was healing quickly. And inside the wound, the messy internal organs destroyed by the flames are also rapidly regenerating. The severed bones are closing rapidly, and the burned muscles and skin are also growing rapidly. In just a short period of time, Kaido, who was on the verge of dying and would die at any time, has now been revived. Jhin and Quinn on the side were already stunned. On the one hand, it was because of the attitude of the guy in front of him. Not only did he not kill Kaido's boss, but he took the initiative to treat him. This guy's attitude really made them a little confused. Another aspect that surprised me was, of course, the flames displayed by this man. The flame held by the priests of the Illuminati is already a legend in the sea. Everyone was talking in amazement about how miraculous those flames are, that no matter how serious the injury is, it can be healed. But it was the first time for Jhin or Quinn to see this kind of flame with his own eyes. When they saw this flame for the first time, they had only one reaction. Too exaggerated. Both Jhin and Quinn were dumbfounded at this moment. Is there really such a magical power in the world, and Kaido's boss is about to be healed so easily? Even soon, Kaido, who was lying on the ground looking like he was dying, suddenly opened his eyes. He stood up. His body was quickly covered with blue scales, his mouth was already wide open, and the fiery flame was about to spit towards Dulin in a second. I think it's time for you to behave a little better now anyway. Dulin said leisurely. The flame in Kaido's mouth did not spit out after all. He raised his right hand to stroke his chest. That injury was far from fully recovered, and the severe pain still stimulated his nerves. Therefore, he will be even more impressed with the sword just now. Without the power to resist, it was as if his entire body was going to be cut off directly. The battle just now was his own disastrous defeat as a matter of course. Kaido breathed a sigh of relief. Lousy lost. After admitting his failure, Kaido also had a look of emotion on his face. But immediately he became a little excited again. You guy, you are so strong that you are no different from a monster. The word that is most often used to describe the strong in this sea is monster. The so-called monsters refer to the existence beyond human common sense. The powerful ones can be called abnormal powerhouses. Now this word is used to describe the guy in front of him is really appropriate. The B********* D in front of him is a super monster that has surpassed Kaido's imagination. Du Lin nodded lightly. Then, there is no need to talk nonsense. Kaido, tell me, what's your answer? Do you want to end everything you have here like Whitebeard, or join me under my command to pursue a wider world? Ooh. Kaido laughed out loud. Are you actually trying to recruit Lousy? Interesting. The same question has already been asked to Newgate and Linlin, right? What's their answer? Du Lin didn't speak. Both Whitebeard and Charlotte Linlin have been killed. What else could their answer be? Don't look down on people too much, kid. Kaido looked down at Du Lin condescendingly. I just think Kim would be willing to climb to a higher level if it was you. Du Lin said, aren't you interested in 140? Target another world to make yourself stronger. Another world. Kaido frowned. What do you mean? Literally. Du Lin waved towards the distance. Levaden has already flown over, and there is still a guy hanging on the dead branch like Excalibur. Hawkeye had been beaten and hung on the sword like a shrimp. After Levaden flew to the top of the deck and sank into the void, the guy fell down with a plop. Really, uncanny swordsmanship. Hawkeye was covered in cuts and bruises at this time, with large and small wounds all over his body, but his eyes were still very hot, and he still looked up in admiration. Then, the same question is asked of you. Du Lin looked at him. Follow me, or perish. Hawkeye licked his lips lightly, and said with a smile, it doesn't matter who I follow, I'm just pursuing the extreme state of swordsmanship. So, God of the Sun, can I fight that sword of yours often? That sword is simply the pinnacle of swordsmanship. Certainly. Du Lin chuckled. Then I'm fine. Hawkeye looked excited. Very good. Du Lin nodded in satisfaction, and finally looked at Kaido. What about you? Kaido gritted his teeth secretly. Chapter 302 Kaido is attached. Shock the world. Du Lin really didn't expect Levaden to be so attractive to Hawkeye. But it's not surprising when you think about it. Levaden is the legendary sword of victory. In addition to releasing flames, its other great ability is automatic combat. The so-called automatic combat means that based on Du Lin's strength as the standard, it can display a matching combat power. The performance of this combat power is reflected in speed, strength and skill. And the so-called skill, of course, is the so-called swordsmanship. The stronger Du Lin's strength, the stronger the swordsmanship that Levaden will show. When Du Lin really has the power of a god, Levaden will naturally have a swordsmanship that rivals a god. When Du Lin didn't know anything about swordsmanship, Guojiang was already able to display swordsmanship at the level of a great swordsman. But now Du Lin's strength can be called crushing even in the face of the top powerhouses in the sea. Therefore, the swordsmanship shown by Levaden has naturally far surpassed the limit of the sea. Even the so-called great swordsman is not worth a damn in front of it. This level of swordsmanship was no longer simply a shock to Hawkeye. That is simply a miraculous way of swordsmanship. It was something he had never seen, let alone imagined. For Hawkeye, who has pursued swordsmanship all his life, it is only natural that he would be attracted by this. It is of course a good thing to be able to include this guy. Of course, Hawkeye is also a man who has the qualifications of a knight of the gods. It's just that it doesn't seem so simple to get Kaido under his command. Du Lin looked at Kaido, the guy's expression was still changing slightly. It's such a small world, isn't it? Kaido. Du Lin smiled and said, aren't you tired of seeing the scenery on the sea? Du Lin stretched out his hand towards him. Come here, I will take you to see a wider world and see more beautiful scenery. After conquering this world, the next goal is another world. As soon as these words came out, everyone on the deck changed their expressions. Quinn's eyes almost flew out of their sockets. Does this guy know what he's talking about? Another world. What sci-fi story time is this? Lousy has no time to listen to your sleep talk. Kaido sneered. Empty talk. White Fang told him about another world, of course he would only think that this guy was talking wild words. Yeah, Du Lin chuckled. Flames spread from his body, enveloping the entire ship in an instant. Then the next second, the surrounding scene changed instantly. Both the sea and the blue sky disappeared in an instant. Instead, there was a dead, pale ground and an endless black starry sky above. Here it is. Jin's eyes widened. He felt that the blood in his heart was boiling. Although you have never been here, this is indeed the hometown of the Burka people. Du Lin said leisurely, he is the so-called moon. Quote. Moon. Both Kaido and Hawkeye lost their voices. They turned their heads in astonishment, and then happened to see the gorgeous water blue planet hanging in the dark starry sky in the distance. Everyone was speechless. What a joke. They were brought straight from the new world to the moon in an instant. This ability is beyond what devil fruit can explain, right? What kind of monster is this guy? Even Kaido, at this moment, inevitably felt a little panic in his heart. The guy in front of him doesn't seem to be the same species as them at all. I see. Quinn had already shouted, every planet is a world. The universe is so vast, in addition to the world we live in, of course there are thousands of planets. At this moment, whether it was Hawkeye or Kaido, their eyes suddenly brightened. The world is so vast. Du Lin just smiled. These guys really took the world in his mouth as these stars. But it doesn't matter, bringing them here was originally to make them think so. In fact, the crossing world Du Lin mentioned certainly does not refer to interstellar travel. Although this matter is indeed great, it is not great enough. Du Lin is very sure that when he completes the main task, the final reward he gets must be the key to open a new instance. After all, that broken game has a bunch of anime and game scripts sewn into it. It is absolutely impossible to be done with just one pirate world. But at this time, he couldn't produce evidence, so he could only misunderstand it. However, the shock brought by crossing the galaxy still makes a man like Kaido can't help being amazed. You actually set your target in the starry sky, UB***************** D. Kaido looked at Du Lin with eyes full of wonder, that's really amazing. No wonder he has such incomprehensible strength, because what his eyes are looking at is already hard for ordinary people to understand the starry sky. So, Kaido, Du Lin asked, what's your answer? Kaido was slightly silent. Do you want to say yes? Or don't? His arrogance will never allow him to bow his head to anyone. However, he was not willing to die like this. The world is so vast, and there are still such landscapes in the world. But he is still stuck on the planet he was born in, and has never taken a step forward. Kaido is not reconciled. Du Lin was not in a hurry or urged, but just waited quietly. The corners of his mouth raised slightly, and he felt that this time there should be a result that was more to his liking. Ooh, damn it. Kaido burst out laughing. It really gave Lousy an irresistible temptation. Of course Lousy is not reconciled to being ed Qian's Zhao like this, so that's the only way to go. He lowered his head and looked at Du Lin with burning eyes, but you be D, don't get carried away, just like when you were Captain Rocks. Always keep Lousy on guard against the blade that may come from behind. The corner of Du Lin's mouth has been raised high, his attitude is already obvious. No, I don't think you'll have that chance. Of course there is no such opportunity. After being planted by Du Lin, even a man like Kaido lost all resistance zones. Jhin and Quinn looked at each other. Both of them breathed a sigh of relief. This may not be a good thing, but at least it won't be a bad thing. Hawkeye's eyes were also slightly excited. He knew without a doubt that something world-shattering was happening right before his eyes. In a moment, the world was indeed shaken. Chapter 303 The World's Strongest Man. In addition to Hawkeye, there are also many people who barely survived among those who went to the Sphinx to watch the final battle between the Sun God and the Whitebeard pirates. And among these surviving guys, there are even several newspaper reporters. So, as a matter of course, as soon as the battle ended, they immediately spread all the things that happened in this sea area to the whole world. As a result, the whole world immediately became a sensation. The whole world is paying attention to the situation on this island, and everyone is looking forward to the final result. But the result in front of them at this time is a bit too shocking. Originally thought that what happened on Mercury Island would be a duel between the God of the Sun and Whitebeard. As a result, what no one expected was that the Whitebeard pirates also came. But the Sun God came here alone, not even a Sun Knight, let alone a God Knight. Everyone thought it would be a fierce battle. But something unexpected happened again. The shelling from nowhere turned the entire Shuixianqing island into ashes in an instant. The huge island completely disappeared in the blink of an eye, leaving no traces. That must be the scariest weapon in the world. In a certain newspaper, a commentator said, 963 inches for the Sun God, the more frightening thing is that the weapon may be in the hands of the world government. But the regrettable thing is that even with such a terrifying weapon, he still failed to take down the God of the Sun. Not long after the shelling, he appeared from nowhere alive and well, without even leaving any scars on his body. But Whitebeard and his children did not appear with this man. The Sun God said that Whitebeard and his Whitebeard pirates have been completely wiped out by him. Although there is no evidence, but in the next battle, the Kaido of the beasts who suddenly appeared in this sea area challenged the Sun God. The God of the Sun showed unrivaled strength, and within 3 moves, he easily knocked Kaido down into the sea. That is truly the power that can be called a god. So it seems that the God of the Sun has no need to lie at all. The Whitebeard pirates had probably been completely destroyed by him. The Whitebeard BBBD pirate group and the Beasts pirates were wiped out in one go. No matter how you say it, this should be considered big news that has never been seen before. It is no exaggeration to say that the whole world is boiling because of this battle that took place in the Sphinx. After all, the Charlotte family has been killed before, and now even the Whitebeard pirates and Beasts pirates have been completely defeated. In this case, the pirates who were once called legends on the sea would all be wiped out. It can even be said that even a pirate with a bounty of more than 1 billion has been found in the sea at this time. The era of pirates seems to have really come to an end. What the world government has been unable to do for so many years, has been accomplished by this Sun God in just a few years. It's really amazing. It is hard for people in the world not to sigh because of this. Based on the attitude of the Illuminati and the Sun Knights towards the pirates, I can believe that if the Sun God takes over the world, then this world will never have a field where pirates are raging again. Of course, it is not without its opponents. Don't say it too early, the world government has not experienced the disappearance of big pirates at sea for so many years. But what was the final result? Aren't the pirates still wreaking havoc and appearing in the sea wave after wave? In any case, it seems that the waves caused by the sea this time are not so easy to dissipate. The whole world is caught in a heated discussion. In addition to discussing the impact of this battle on the entire world, discussing whether the era of pirates will end here. There is another issue that people are very actively discussing. Even monsters like Whitebeard Kaido are easily defeated, so, is the god of the sun worshipped by the Illuminati already the most powerful #F under this starry sky? Of course, Charlotte Linlin, Kaido of the Beasts, Whitebeard, the most powerful pirates in the world were either captured by his subordinates or easily defeated by him. Of course, there can be no more powerful pirates in this world than him. A powerful presence. The strongest in the world. People in the sea have started to call Du Lin by this title. After all, even the previous strongest man in the world, Whitebeard, was easily defeated by him, and even the most powerful candidate, Kaido, was defeated at the same time. With such a record, Du Lin certainly has no reason not to be the strongest. No one else in the world can compete with him. At this time, he is already the world's strongest for the world's people without a doubt. It's just that, the strongest man, the island of the gods, Enel who got the news from Morgans was furious, how presumptuous these bastards are. How dare you describe God like that? God is not just a man, he is a male god. And, what is the strongest? Is there the strongest and the second strongest? What a joke, how could anyone in the world be able to compare with God? He is supreme, no one can compare with him. At this moment, Enel can't wait to turn all those rumor mongers into ashes. However, Du Lin didn't pay much attention to this matter. He just waved his hand. Enel, be a little quieter. As God, Enel always obeyed Du Lin's orders and never questioned him, so he immediately kept quiet. The reason why Enel was kept quiet was quite simple. Du Lin was leisurely sitting cross-legged on a cloud ball floating on the temple square. Diagonally below him, 4 huge red stones are lined up together. Just by taking a look at it, you will subconsciously feel that it is extraordinary. This guy, Kaido was below, he looked at the white-haired woman and her daughter who were observing and recording in front of the red stone, and then couldn't help but look up at Du Lin. He actually collected all 4 stones. This is what the era of pirates ended with his own hands, but soon he will become the new pirate king. Chapter 304 The Final Island. Du Lin has collected all 4 landmarks in the historical text. The original piece found at Wanokuni. The piece snatched from Charlotte Linlin. The piece from Ko Chong. The piece that was taken back from Whitebeard's hands. When the 4 landmarks are collected, the course leading to the final island will be indicated. Of course, Du Lin didn't intend to continue dawdling any longer. He put the 4 stones together immediately after he came back, and then asked the mother and daughter of Orvia to translate the above content for him. Lead the way to the final island. In fact, he himself was able to translate the contents of these 4 historical texts. But the pursuit of that blank 100 years is, at any rate, the lifelong dream of the mother and daughter of Orvia. So it's not impossible to let them go through the motions. Great sun god, just so thoughtful. In fact, both Orvia and Robin were already overwhelmed with excitement at this time. Their hands holding the pens were trembling constantly. What Ohara has been looking for so many years is now in front of them. As long as the content on these 4 stones can be deciphered, and then go to the final island, then all the secrets will no longer be secrets. One Piece sent all the secrets of the world to the island of the end, as long as they can reach there, the long-cherished wish of generations of Ohara can be fulfilled. Both Orvia and Robin have been very serious, they are afraid that they will miss any word and cause problems in translation. They are afraid of delaying any time, and are afraid that it will delay the time to know the truth of history a little bit. Rear Admiral Guion, who was carried here by his apprentice, had complicated eyes. The 4 road signs have been collected, and this guy will go to the final island next. He is about to get the legendary big secret treasure. Guion was filled with emotion. When she was first captured, she firmly believed in her heart that the government and Marine would definitely annihilate this guy and return the world to peace. But as time passed, this guy developed better and better. Not to mention annihilating him, the forces under his command are getting stronger and stronger now, and even Kaido has become his subordinate now. Yes, Kaido. Guion glanced sideways. When she first saw Kaido coming back with that B*****************, she thought she had made a mistake. After knowing that B*********** D announced in public that Kaido is already a member of them, Guion knew that even Kaido had succumbed to this guy. Does the world government really have the power of the Chance Gang? Guion sighed softly. If she had been asked this question before, her answer would of course be unquestionable. She absolutely believed that the government and Marine would win the final victory. But now if he were to answer this question again, Guion would not know how to answer it. She still firmly believes in justice, but at this time, compared with justice, the power of evil seems to be too large. She could only sigh silently. After the disciple carried her on his back, he immediately ran to the side of the old father who hadn't masked his face for a long time. Father. Yamato looked up at her tall and outrageous old father, and sighed a little unhappy. Why did you get caught by that guy? Kaido looked down at her silently, without any intention of answering. He grabbed her casually and put her on his shoulder. Now is not the time to answer the little girl's question. The location of the final island will soon be deciphered. Even Kaido now has a more ambitious goal, and his eyes are not just under this small sea, but at this moment he still can't hide his expectation. That is the final island. The legendary island where a great treasure is buried. In any case, it was something he had pursued for half his life. Kaido is of course still very interested. Didn't wait too long. After all, it was just 4 articles. It didn't take long for Orvia and Robin of the Grandmaster's ancient script to decipher them. Even this is the case where they are cautious, for fear of any mistakes. God. Soon Orvia turned around excitedly, rushed to Du Lin in one breath, knelt down respectfully and handed Du Lin the notebook in her hand. We have already deciphered the content recorded in the historical text of the 4 road signs. Ask for flowers. Robin also ran over quickly. Her little face was also full of excitement. Every road sign has an address recorded. When all the addresses are collected, you can use them to confirm the orientation of the final island. God. Chart. Morgans on the side had already prepared the chart, and immediately unfolded the chart in his hands, held it with healing flames, and placed it in front of Du Lin. Du Lin opened the notebook from the city of Orvia, which recorded 4 addresses. How knowledgeable Du Lin is at this time. The moment I saw the 4 names, I knew their locations. With a flick of the fingers, 4 groups of flames flew out, and landed on the chart in front of them in the next second. The directions of the 4 islands indicated by the historical text of the 4 road signs have all been presented in front of Du Lin at this time. Oh, this looks like fun. Kaido leaned in front of the chart, the corners of his mouth raised high. Are the 4 addresses distributed in the 4 sea areas in the east, west, and north? The 4 places depicted by Du Lin's flame on the sea chart are located in the 4 sea areas of this world. It can be said that they are thousands of miles apart from each other. Orvia continued to speak at this time. Connect the 4 islands diagonally, and the intersection point where the last 2 lines converge is the location of the final island. Flames spread across the chart. The 2 locations facing each other are connected, and 2 straight lines crossing each other are formed on the chart. What? Morgans widened his eyes in astonishment. Why are you here? It's actually here. Kaido was equally astonished. Anyone who sees the place where these 2 straight lines intersect at this time will be shocked. Because the planet is actually spherical, there are actually several ways to draw the lines connecting the 4 locations. Du Lin just chose the shortest of them. But at this time, the point where the 2 clues intersect is located in a place that is familiar to almost everyone in the world, but has never been guessed. Upside Down Mountain. The corners of Du Lin's mouth curled up. What a big joke for everyone, Joey boy. Who could have imagined such a thing? Really have you. Chapter 305 Arriving at the End of the World. Upside Down Mountain. Here is the starting point of the Grand Line. People from the 4 seas in the south, east, north and west have to go through the canal on the Upside Down Mountain if they want to go to the Grand Line. Then I took the canal all the way to the top of the mountain range, and then I took the mighty river flowing down and entered the Great Sea. This is where it all started. All the people who came chasing after the legendary Great Secret Treasure are often very satisfied when they arrive here. And regard this as a new beginning, and enter the Grand Line with excitement. Almost no one will stop here. After all, here is just a starting point. But who would have guessed? Joey Boye made one of the biggest jokes of all. The place known as the end of the world, the legendary final island, located in 993, is the starting point of everything. But in fact, if you think about it carefully, this is not something incomprehensible. It can be said that it is unexpected but reasonable. After all, the Grand Line is a circle, and the starting point is naturally the end point. The canal that spreads down from the inverted mountain is the starting point of entering the Grand Line, and at the same time, the towering cliffs on the back of the inverted mountain are also the real end of the Grand Line. Starting from Upside Down Mountain, going around the world and back again, this is the real world around. The Grand Line is like a Ouroboros, the beginning is the end. Therefore, Joey Boye put the final island in that place. Although it is shocking, it is not unacceptable. Ooh-hoo. At least Kaido was laughing out loud by now. That's funny. That guy Joey boy, he's really funny. Who would have thought? Morgans is also laughing in a low voice. Tianfa's place is actually the terminal. Everyone had smiles on their faces. 800 years ago, this little joke left by Joey boy made everyone smile from the bottom of their hearts. Then, God, Orvia couldn't wait to say, now that the location is known, shouldn't we go to the final island? Let's go then. Du Lin stretched a little, and said lazily, go and see what Joey boy left. Just get it done. Du Lin is by no means a procrastinator. If you say you want to go to Reversing Mountain, then go to Reversing Mountain immediately. It's not a difficult thing to do. Before Du Lin's voice fell, he and the guys around him had already moved to another place in an instant. The red land spread all the way up, and in front of it was a wide canal, which rushed down from above and merged into the vast ocean in the distance. At this time, a huge fence was erected above the canal, blocking all sea ships coming from above the canal. On one side of the fence is a lonely building, quietly existing on this vast red land. The face of the building is embossed with a huge sun emblem. God. As soon as Du Lin and the others arrived, the people stationed in the building immediately rushed out, kneeling down in front of Du Lin with fanaticism and excitement. This is Twin Gorges, entrance to the Grand Line. Du Lin sent people to occupy this place a long time ago, and set up checkpoints here to prevent pirates from entering the Grand Line. As this already upside-down mountain, Kaido's eyes were filled with unconcealed amazement. From Sky Island to the mouth of the Grand Line in the blink of an eye, no matter how many times I see it, I will sincerely sigh. This is really an exaggerated ability. Even though he just saw Du Lin's power to take them back and forth between Qinghai and the moon with ease, Kaido still couldn't help but admire in his heart. Even without counting his invincible force, no one in this world can defeat him with this hand alone. Let's go. There is still a long way to go. The flames swept out, engulfing everyone, and then soared into the sky. The speed of the flames was astonishingly fast, and it didn't take long for a group of people to go up the canal to the top of the Red 10 continent. It is already far above the clouds, and it is really towering into the clouds. When I crossed the mountain again and looked forward, what I saw was the sky of New World. So, where on this mountain is that island? Kaido lowered his head and looked at Orvia mother and daughter. The place marked on the sea chart, the inverted mountain, has indeed arrived, but where is the final island on this mountain? It's inside the upside-down mountain. Orvia said the last secret she learned on the stone. To be precise, it is under the upside-down mountain, just like the Fishman Island. That island exists in a huge hole under the upside-down mountain among. It's just that this huge hole is not connected to the first half of the Grand Line. Under the sea, Enel frowned slightly. It's not an easy thing to get there. It's really rare that Roger and the others were able to find them smoothly. Kaido laughed. Anyway, it's okay to go all the way down, right? Du Lin manipulated the flames straight down, speeding through the clouds generally, along the almost vertical red line mountain face down, and then down. Finally, he plunged into the sea below. At the moment when he plunged headfirst into the sea, Kaido's pupils were already constricted. Even though he is known as the strongest creature in the sea, land and air, as a capable person, of course he cannot move in the deep sea. But fortunately, the imaginary surge of seawater did not happen. The flames spread in all directions, displacing all the seawater. The power of domination once again dominated the sea, making it impossible for all seawater to approach Fenjin. 3.8 inches into the sea. On the contrary, Yamato cheered excitedly. This girl has also been brought. Du Lin was quite casual just now. He brought everyone in the vicinity here, and he didn't say who he brought here specially, and who he didn't bring here. All the way down, the dark deep sea was also illuminated by Du Lin's flame. All the way down and down, during this process, no creature dared to stop it at all. The haki emitted by Du Lin is enough to make any creature frightened. Go all the way down the red line, and soon the deep sea will come to an end. Already at the bottom of the sea. Then, on one side of the mountain wall, there was a faint light shining through. The corners of Du Lin's mouth curled up. The end of the world, this is it. Chapter 306 Raftel. I originally thought that after reaching the deep sea, it would take some searching. After all, this piece of seabed is so vast, and it is not easy to find a big hole. But in fact, it was much simpler than imagined. After reaching the deep sea, Du Lin easily saw the shimmering light coming from the nearby rock wall. It can be clearly seen even from a long distance. Du Lin immediately manipulated the flames to bring everyone closer there. After approaching this cliff, I found that this place is indeed a huge pothole. But unlike the large underwater cave leading to the Fishman Island, the surface of this cave is covered with a layer of huge air bubbles. Well, or it should be said that it is very similar to the Fishman Island. The Fishman Island is wrapped by a huge air bubble. The light is transmitted from this layer of bubbles. Is this the place? Kaido looked at the layer of bubbles in front of him, and couldn't help but whistled, hey. Even Lousy couldn't help but look forward to it. Quote. Strange, isn't it? God. Morgans opened his mouth with some doubts. He said, if this is really the place where the final island exists, it means that this bubble has existed for 800 years. No matter how strong the bubble is, it's impossible to last so long without maintenance, right? Even if there are no human beings to destroy it, the sea beasts and sea kings swimming on the bottom of the sea are enough for this bubble. How does it survive? No maintenance. The corners of Du Lin's mouth curled slightly, and he smiled softly. That's not necessarily the case. There are a bunch of sea kings swimming around the area. They have been guarding this bubble for hundreds of years, preventing any creatures that could harm him from approaching. The relationship between Joyboy and the mermaid princess is very delicate, so it shouldn't be a surprise to ask her to help regulate some sea kings to come over as guardians. Let's go, lose. Du Lin didn't get too entangled in this matter. He manipulated the flames, and directly led everyone into the bubble. This bubble covers the entire hole and isolates the sea water. Outside the bubble is a deep sea, but inside the bubble is a dry cave. This cave is quite huge, with a diameter probably exceeding 200 meters. There are many glowing stones dotted on the cliff walls of the cave, making the whole cave look quite bright. This is where the glow felt outside the bubble comes from. The very interesting thing is that there is actually a canal in the center of the cave, spreading all the way to the depths of the cave. It is estimated that some special design has been made on the bubbles, so that seawater can slowly seep in to form a canal. Is it just ahead? Kaido looked forward to it. Going all the way along the cave, Du Lin found that the cave was going down slanted. The farther forward, the greater the arc of inclination. Then finally, the front suddenly became clear. It was an extremely wide space, roughly a spherical cave, also dotted with a lot of luminous stones, so you can roughly see the whole picture. Estimated by the naked eye, the diameter of the entire cave is at least 10 kilometers, which means it is no longer inside the red line, but further below, in the true sense of the depths of the ground. Below the cave is unexpectedly a piece of sea. A small ocean, or should I say, a lake, deep underground. The canal that sprawled in from the entrance of the cave finally merged into this lake. The most striking thing is of course the small island in the middle of the lake. It is about a few kilometers in diameter, but it is a piece of golden light visible to the naked eye. That's it, Raftel. Morgan's eyes could be described as longing, and the anticipation in the eyes was almost pulled out. Dulin didn't write any ink, the flames he manipulated went all the way, and in the blink of an eye, they had already arrived at the sky above the island. Looking down from the top, the first thing you can see is of course the rich golden light. The islands visible to the naked eye are covered with all kinds of gold and silver treasures. Gold, jewels, and gems of various colors, all things that can remind people of wealth, are now piled up with the entire island below, and even piled up into hills one after another. Dulin scanned it a little with knowledge. Although the area of the island is not huge, it is at least 2 or 3 kilometers in diameter. But at this time, the island has been filled with all kinds of gold, silver and jewels. And it's not even a thin layer. Even Enel couldn't hide the shock in his eyes. No wonder you say that with this great secret treasure, you have everything in this world. What an exaggeration, such an amazing fortune. Even if you want to buy the whole world, it is not impossible. Joey boy, what the hell is that guy doing? Kaido couldn't help exclaiming, how on earth did he come up with such a fortune? Just go and have a look. Dulin lowered the height of the flame and landed straight towards the center of the island. Most of the island is full of treasures, except for one place, which is the center of the island. The area was visibly cleared to the naked eye. In the center of the clearing was a large boulder. It is like a 267 large stone like the main text of history, but it is much larger in size. This should be the stone left by Joey boy. Dulin looked at the stone. Then he turned his head and there was a huge gold pillar on one side of the stone. It can be clearly seen that this pillar was artificially inserted here, and there are many words engraved on the pillar. But it is not an ancient text. It is the text that is currently used in this sea. No need to guess, everyone knows that this pillar and the text on it should be left by Roger. This is. As soon as Dulin and the others landed, the mother and daughter of Orvia couldn't wait to rush out, directly in front of the huge rock. Everything is true. The mother and daughter were so excited that they almost shed tears. This is what they have been looking for, and this is what Ohara has always been. The truth of the blank 100 years is now in front of them. However, the mother and daughter were not in a hurry to interpret it, even though they were so excited that they burst into tears at this time. They still looked back at Dulin. Although I couldn't get more excited, I still had to ask God's permission first. Dulin nodded slightly. The mother and daughter finally revealed the truth of Shikai's secret history. Chapter 307 The Boring Truth. Although this piece of historical text is very large, it didn't take too long to decipher the above text. Orvia immediately told Dulin and others excitedly about the turbulent history that happened between 900 years ago and 800 years ago. But, everyone's reaction after listening to it was, "That's it." Kaido grinned coldly, the so-called Joey boy, "That's it." Enel even commented directly and unabashedly, "You are simply an idiot." That's right. This name has been circulating in the sea for 800 years, and Lousy thought he was such a great guy. Kaido even laughed out loud. It turned out to be no different from that idiot Kazuki Oden, a complete idiot. Hey, Jhin, you be D still said that Lousy is the Joey boy of this era, it's too contemptuous. Dulin just smiled without making judgments. But in fact, he agrees with Kaido and Enel's evaluation in his heart. As Kaido said, the name Joyboy is no stranger to the people who stand on the top of the sea. This is a legend that has been passed down for hundreds of years. But after he really learned about this man's deeds, Dulin only found it funny. Roger named the island Raftel, isn't there a reason for this? Raftel means a joke. The story is actually very simple. It all started because of the relocation of the Burka people. The Burka people living on the moon had to leave their homeland due to the exhaustion of resources, and they moved to Qinghai. The Burka people at that time were like gods to the people in Qinghai. Not only do they have the technology enough to realize interstellar travel, but also because their leader, a group that calls themselves the Lunaria, has power above everything else. Yes, the Lunaria people were the royal family of the Burka people. After they landed in Qinghai, they used a certain area above Wangdalu as a base to establish a country. This is the area where Mariajoy will be located in the future. Therefore, Lunaria people are called gods who live on high walls. In that era, they were indeed no different from gods. With overwhelming technological advantages, coupled with the powerful talent of the Lunalia tribe, Qinghai, which was only passed down by Haki at that time, was of course far from being able to compete with them. But the actual Burka people are quite peaceful. After they landed in Qinghai, they didn't think about exterminating the Aborigines. Instead, they began to teach their skills to the people at sea. Many people were attracted to study in this country formed by aliens, and one of them was a man named Joy Boy. It should be said that he has no talent in science. But he's really good at making friends. Even within the Burka people, he made a group of friends. He didn't learn too much knowledge about science and technology here, but was infected by the spirit of the Burka people in pursuit of freedom and equality. At that time, slavery was still prevalent in Qinghai. Because of the low productivity, the feudal system has not even developed, and a large number of people in the world have been reduced to slaves and can only be ravaged by others. Joey Boy was quite dissatisfied with this situation when he was studying. Time gradually passed. The Burka people who came to Qinghai did not stop their research. With the help of some special products in Qinghai, they researched a special fruit. A fruit that can give people superpowers. That kind of fruit is generally called devil fruit by people in the sea. As a good friend of the Burka people, Joey Boy was the first Qinghai native to get devil fruit. It's worth mentioning that the original devil fruit didn't have specific abilities. Ability is determined according to the heart of the eater. Of course, when the ability is separated from the original user and then reborn, its category has already been fixed. The ability that Joey Boy has is rubber, presumably because he finds it interesting. It was over, and after Burka's studies, Anipoy set out to travel. Then, it is a happy fight against injustice. At that time, the sea and Joey Boy, who had received Burka's education, were directly incompatible. The oppression and cannibalism that can be seen everywhere make Joey angry. He freed slaves as he traveled. In just a few years, several countries were overthrown because of him. The group of people he saved followed behind him, worshipping the form shown after his ability evolution as a god, calling him Nica. Joey Boy's trip begins and ends in Burka. He returned to Burka, found the ruler of that country at that time, and made a proposal. He hopes to build a huge kingdom around Burka, to unite those who are unwilling to be oppressed all over the world. The Burka people readily accept this. In this way, an unprecedentedly huge kingdom was established. A large number of Joey Boy supporters came, and even many countries that were helped by Joey Boy joined. That was the rudiment of the original world government. The world has begun to change like never before. Those countries that were unwilling to embrace change were resisted, and the idea of freedom and equality spread across the sea like never before. The world seems to be a better place because of it. Still, to say that Joey Boyle is as naive as Kazuki Oden is. He thought the world had become a better place, but it never occurred to him that danger lurks in the shadows beneath his feet. Among the many kings who joined this huge kingdom was a guy named I Am. He is a good friend of Joey Boy, and he is also very famous in the huge palace, and is the upper house of the Burka people. That's the kind of good money good guy that ends up destroying everything. He wooed some of the countries that were forced to join the alliance, and said that he would lead them to truly conquer the world. It also deceived some countries that were originally on the side of Joy Boy, making them think that the Joy Boy Burkas were planning a conspiracy. It should be said that this method is very crude. But it was a success. A total of 20 kings suddenly launched a rebellion. By virtue of being Joy Boy's best friend, I Am tricks the fool and the Burkas. It easily captured the ultimate weapon developed by the Burka people, and captured a group of strongest devil fruits developed by the Burka people. That huge kingdom collapsed in an instant. Then there is the story of Joey Boy and the remaining Burka people researching ancient weapon to counterattack, but ultimately failed. Ridiculous. Du Lin can only make such an evaluation, because it is really ridiculous. Chapter 308 To shock the world. Du Lin thinks that Kaido's evaluation of Joey Boy and Kazuki Oden is comparable, and the evaluation is really very accurate. Both of them are idealists through and through, both possess extraordinary strength and power, and once held a good card in their hands. But it's a pity that both of them played their good cards badly in the end. When Du Lin thought of the fact that I Am was a good friend of Joy Boy as described in the historical text, he easily obtained the control of the final weapon of the Burka people, and he wanted to be cured. There are really many stupid guys in the sea, but such stupid guys are really rare. The guy Joey Boy and Kazuki Oden really are the chicks. The only difference is that what happened to Kazuki Oden ended up hurting Wano Kuni as a whole. But the mess left by Joey Boy has truly harmed the entire world for 800 years. Du Lin thinks I Am should kowtow to Joey Boy. Without this guy's stupidity, it would be absolutely impossible for I Am to take over the entire world and rule it peacefully for 800 years. However, even so, Morgan said with a smile, what is before our eyes is the truth that can shock anyone. This is certainly enough to shock anyone with the 217. Who in the sea would know the origin of world government? Who would have imagined that the world government that has ruled the world for 800 years is actually produced by deceit and betrayal? Although it should not have much impact on the world government, it is already very interesting just to disclose this matter. Morgans giggled. Then I'll leave it up to you, Morgans. Du Lin casually said, so what if it was revealed that Morgans was his subordinate? The world government is also helpless. Yes. Morgan's response, of course, was overwhelming excitement. His lifelong dream was to make big news. Now that the truth of the world is revealed, there should be no bigger news than this for the time being. The world government is about to lose face. Morgans giggled. HMPH, it doesn't really mean anything. Kaido commented sharply, what is the meaning of what happened 800 years ago to people today? Kaido was right. It is too long ago. So what if the truth is revealed now? Will the people of the sea still stand up and fight back against the world government because of things that even their ancient ancestors did not experience? Of course it is impossible. At most, it's just secretly slandering. Perhaps when faced with the dilemma between the world government and the Illuminati, it is easier to convince myself to surrender to the Illuminati. But it doesn't matter. It is enough to give the world government a headache. However, God, Orvia said with some concern, Joey Boy's last message said that if he wants to defeat the devil fruit owned by I Am, he must use the Zonkali he owns. If you want to win the real victory, you must wait until the 3 ancient weapons are assembled, and then beat the drum of freedom. Orvia said, the weapons held by the world government and the devil fruit abilities held by IM are too powerful. Yes, Morgans even sighed, neither the weapon nor the ability of devil fruit is in vain, no wonder Roger said it was too early. In the text left by Roger, the same content as that in this historical text is also lodged. In fact, the content of this historical text is what is described in those historical texts scattered all over the world. Only Joey Boy was very thoughtful about this matter. In case there is any intelligence and history text that has not been obtained, just find all the target people who came here. Or someone who has found all the texts of the history of intelligence, but has not found the text of the history of road signs big. Isn't it all troublesome? So he also left information here. In addition to translating the text on the history text, Roger also left his own message. It was too early for him to say. Poseidon has not yet been born, Uranus has not yet grown, and even the fruit of Nica has not yet appeared. In the message, Roger joked that he had made all the preparations and was ready to face any crisis. But I never expected that everything just came too early in the end. He never thought that he had won everything, but he was not qualified to participate in the final decisive battle. He wasn't the guy Joey Boy was waiting for. That's why Roger laughed at himself and named the island Raftel. Because it is really funny. However, Dulin feels that Roger may not be all laughing at himself. He probably thinks that his life goal has been achieved, and the rest will be left to others to solve. After all, it's not impossible to cross time, isn't there still Tianyu? Although this woman cannot reverse time, it is still possible to cross time. She could have sent Roger to the future, to the right time. But Roger didn't choose that. He finally chose to die quietly. But no matter how you say it, this time is a huge harvest. Morgans laughed, at least I have figured out all the cards in world government's hands. Dulin nodded slightly, then, let's go back. As for how to go back, of course. The flames spread instantly, enveloping everything on the island. Then, overrun mode. In just the next second, the entire island was brought to the top of the island of gods by Dulin. Dulin directly put it on the huge vine. Anyway, it's not too big, and it can hang on the vines completely. Just came back. Kaido smacked his lips again. Again, what a power of exaggeration. Dulin stretched slightly. Why does it feel that there is no sense of accomplishment at all? Obviously the legendary big secret treasure has been found. God. Then I will go to work first. Morgans couldn't wait to flap his wings and leap out. He really can't wait to spread the news from the final island to the whole world in the shortest possible time. Soon, the news birds of the World Economic News Agency flew out from various branches. They flapped their wings and scattered the white newspaper all over the world. Then, of course, the whole world was stunned speechless by this shocking news. It should be said that it was too shocking. Chapter 309 The world is shocked. This time it was really scoop news, and no newspaper other than the World Economic News Service knew about this big news. So when Morgan spread the newspaper all over the world for the first time, even his peers in various newspapers were equally dumbfounded. Is it true? Is this really true? Many colleagues even ignored the competition between each other, and immediately called Morgans to ask him if this matter was true. And at this time, Morgans is of course very proud to reply to them, absolutely no falsehood. So, amidst the constant gasping, these other newspaper bosses also took action immediately. Although it's not the first-hand news, if you don't participate in this news feast, it seems that you have some ancestors. Then, there are very few people in this world who don't know about it. As a matter of course, the whole world was shocked. The god of the sun, has he reached the final island? No way. So, he has accomplished what only Roger can accomplish. He is the second generation's One Piece. He's not a pirate at all, or even on the contrary, that guy doesn't have any good looks towards pirates at all. Even if it's not the One Piece, he also got the legendary big secret treasure. He got everything in the world. People who read the newspaper on the sea didn't have much doubt about the news. After all, Morgans had several photos in the paper at the same time. It was a picture of a small island taken from above. Visible to the naked eye, the entire island exudes a strong golden light. The entire island is covered with all kinds of gold jewels, and anyone who sees it for the first time can't help but feel shaken. Such astonishing wealth, only the legendary great secret treasure can have it, right? Even the world government may not be able to get it out. The legendary secret treasure. There are already countless people on the sea drooling looking at the photos in the newspaper. This kind of wealth is enough to buy the whole world, right? However, there are also some people who are discussing another issue. Since this great secret treasure has been taken away by that sun god, is it true that the era of great pirates is over? Really, in the era of great pirates opened by Roger, the pirates flocked to the sea for that great secret treasure. Now that there are no more targets, how many pirates will continue to sail? Furthermore, the Whitebeard pirates, Big Mom pirates, and Beasts pirates have all been destroyed because of that sun god. In addition to the current bottom line, that guy really ended the entire era of great pirates by himself. It seems that the era of great pirates is really coming to an end. The people on the sea thought so tacitly. It should be said that such an idea is somewhat correct. Many pirates at sea felt frustrated on this day. Damn it, has Raftel been found? Has that big secret treasure been taken away by that B********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************* just futile. Hey, let's go back. Quote. Many pirates have simply washed their hands in the gold basin on this day. Their dreams were shattered, and there was little point in continuing to sail. But of course, more pirates still didn't intend to end like this. Of course, the most numerous pirates in the sea are not those famous and powerful big pirates, but those miscellaneous fish pirates who are almost unknown and no one will care about them. These guys often don't care about dreams or anything at all, they go to sea for robbery, for treasure and pleasure. In this case, what if the final island and the great secret treasure are found? It wouldn't affect them at all. However, it is undeniable that there are fewer and fewer pirates going to sea all over the world. The foreseeable thing is that the era of pirates has indeed come to an end. Somewhere on the Grand Line. Oh, what a pity. The red-haired flipped through the newspaper in his hand, and said regretfully, I really wanted to visit the last island, but I didn't go when Captain Roger and the others went up. But now it seems that there is no such opportunity. One of the great dreams in my life was shattered like this. Asking for flowers. It's hard not to be slightly disheartened by even a Hoda man like the redhead. So, where should we go next, Shanks? Usopp, the dreadlocked sniper with thick lips, has a bitter face. Everyone is saying that the era of pirates is over, and the war between the government and the Illuminati will leave us with less and less living space. It's okay to lose the goal, and now even the shelter is about to be lost. This world is really changing too fast. Let's take one step at a time. The red hair raised his head from behind the newspaper. He still had a confident and gentle smile on his face. If there is really no way out, then disband our pirate group. 0. Although very unwilling, but if this is the choice of the times, then there is nothing to say. But, before that, there is one thing that must be done. The redhead rested his hand on the straw hat on top of his head. Captain Roger, who exactly are you waiting for? But now, the god of the sun has already taken the lead. I'm already a little confused. But I think there is at least one more thing I can do. Rubber fruit. I will definitely get that fruit. Although I don't know what great use it has. The redhead is confident. In addition to the news that the great secret treasure had been captured by the sun god, there was another news that caused a huge commotion in the sea. Of course, it is the origin of the world government and the identity of that Lord I Am. So, is this the truth of the blank 100 years? Burka people, huge kingdom, Joy Boy. It turns out that such a period of history existed in the world. Was the world government originally established through betrayal? Who would have thought of such a thing? Nero Naim, one of the 20 kings 800 years ago, the immortal who survived 800 years ago to the present. The real ruler of the world government. Is there really such a guy in the world? Quote. Yeah, it's unimaginable that someone can live for such a long time. Even the giants can't do it, can they? Chapter 310. Open the treasure chest again. Evolution card. In the past few days, the two most famous names on the sea are the god of the sun and I Am. Not to mention the god of the sun, he has already been famous all over the world before that, although no one knows his specific name and origin, but his reputation has already resounded throughout the heavens. But I Am, this name was indeed unknown at sea before, and no one knew of his existence. And now, when those newspapers have spread all over the world, this name has become a hot topic among people on the sea. The hot topic is simple. Does such a guy really exist? The people on the sea are really hard to believe. After all, surviving for 800 years is really too exaggerated. Even the giants, known for their longevity, had less than half the lifespan limit. Therefore, many people think that this is nothing more than a public opinion offensive based on the 030 inches note and a smear against the world government, which is simply nonsense. How could celestial dragons still have a king? How could there be someone more supreme on top of the 5 elders? But of course, there are also many people who believe this news. Their reason is that the sun god, there is no need to lie. Equals, v equals underscore equals hash. After all, so what if it was true? Will the countries under the world government defect because of this? At most, it is to take advantage of some public opinion. What use will this advantage have in the next war? But it is also true that what the people on the sea thinks does not actually have any influence. Dulin never thought that he could defeat I Am with the power of ordinary people in the sea. The world has never been fair. The war of the strong has never been an area where the weak can interfere. Even if the people on the sea stood on their side one after another and gathered a super army of 10 million people for themselves, even so, Dulin didn't think they could help in the war. How many shots can it withstand I Am? The reason for spreading this news is just to discuss Time's guy. Doesn't this guy like to hide all the time? Then make it impossible for him to hide now. Facts have proved that this purpose has indeed been perfectly achieved. A-hole stuff. Somewhere in the world, inside that huge weapon, Mr. I Am, who has always been quite calm, is finally a little furious at this moment. Did that guy actually find what Joey Boy left behind? That means he might have to buy the ancient weapons that Joey Boy left behind back then. In front of Lord I Am, the 5 elders knelt on the ground silently, not daring to say a word. As the grown-up said, what should we do next? What Joey Boy left behind is not only the truth of history and the large number of treasures. The more important thing is that the few ancient musical instruments made by Joy Boy and the remnants of the Fika people to fight against the 20 masters were also buried by him. Now the B*********** D who got the inheritance of Joey Boy, of course also holds the key to awaken the ancient weapon. This is really the worst news. Those people were already tough enough, now with the addition of ancient weapon, how strong will they become? Even if they were full of confidence in Lord I Am, they are inevitably a little uneasy now. What should we do now? It is almost impossible to kill that B*********** D head-on, which means that he has almost unlimited fault tolerance. Not to mention that he is very likely to get those ancient weapons now. What should we do? All the 5 elders can feel right now is a headache. Very headache. Lord I Am also remained silent after being angry. There has to be an environment where he can't use his abilities freely. After a long time, a 5 elders spoke softly. Only by making that guy lose the ability to escape, can he be truly defeated. Silence continued to spread. So, what kind of ability or object should be used to limit that guy's ability? At the same time that the world almost fell into madness, the island of gods. Du Lin finally heard a ding after a long absence. He was almost stunned for a few seconds before he finally opened the system panel hastily. Indeed, it has been a long time since I have received any rewards from the system. As the progress of conquering the world continues to advance, the conditions that need to be met to advance the main task further become more and more difficult. The Illuminati and the Sun Knights have been expanding their territories to the 4 seas and the New World centered on the Upside-Down Mountain for a long time. Yes, until now, the system has finally arrived. Du Lin couldn't wait to open the territory column on his panel. There are already many sea areas in this column. It is really a lot. After all, it is the 4 seas plus the New World, the continuous expansion of the 5 sea areas. The number of occupied sea areas will naturally be astonishing. It's just a pity that with such an astonishing number and such a vast occupied area, Du Lin still only got 1 treasure chest. Looking at the treasure chest floating in front of him, Du Lin couldn't help sighing softly. How easy it was at the beginning, just occupying an island randomly and giving a treasure chest. Now it has occupied a small half of the world, but it still only gives 1 treasure chest. It's really emotional. If you want to get another treasure chest next time, you have to conquer at least half of the world, right? Or simply wait until the entire world is conquered and the main line is completely completed. Du Lin was a little uncertain. But it doesn't matter. Du Lin has already seen through that fellow Im's old background, so he is very confident that even if he doesn't get new treasure chests now, it is not difficult to win the war based on his own accumulation of 1.4 at this time. But of course, having treasure chests is of course a good thing. Du Lin put his hand on the treasure chest. The treasure chest was instantly shattered. Among the scattered light spots, a card appeared in front of Du Lin. Still a card. Du Lin nodded slightly in satisfaction. Cards are generally good things, and his luck has always been good. Clutching the card in front of him, Du Lin took a closer look. Then his eyes lit up instantly. This is a blue card with a rising arrow drawn on the front. This is an upgrade card. Among the many cards in the game, it is also a very rare one. Because its ability is to unconditionally raise 1 level of one's own ability. Chapter 311 Awakening. Belongs to the power of God. In the copycat game that Du Lin played before traveling, both skills and equipment needed to be upgraded. And upgrading the level will of course require the consumption of materials. But the problem is that the material consumed at the beginning is not much, and it is very easy to upgrade. But as the level increases, the amount of materials that need to be consumed gradually becomes astronomical. Even the most daring liver emperor can only look at the ocean and sigh. At this time, the benefits of upgrading the card will come out. Although it can only be improved by 1 level, the effort saved is not a little bit. What local tyrants like most is Krypton, a bunch of upgrade cards, which directly fill up the level. But directly spending money to increase the level is a bit too much to be honest, so this kind of card is relatively scarce. Du Lin flipped through the card in his hand, and there was a smile of interest on the corner of his mouth. The upgrade card is indeed a good thing in the game, but is it still useful now? After all, no matter whether it is the person himself or the skills and equipment he owns, there is no such thing as a level. How to upgrade this? Du Lin was already a little uncertain. But since the card has been drawn, it must be useful, right? Then try 14. Du Lin has crushed the card in his hand without hesitation. Dots of blue starlight had enveloped him in the next instant. Then, the special emotional words of Japanese stock surged from my heart. Du Lin immediately knew the usefulness of this card. Although the level in the intuitive sense is gone, the level in the abstract sense still exists. For example, if you use it to improve your physical fitness will become stronger. That's one such upgrade. Very reasonable. In this case, Lin immediately selected the ability that he should improve the most. There are 2 options. One, of course, is the Devil Fruit ability of the Sun God Winged Dragon that he holds. This ability is the foundation of his strength. Compared with the overwhelming power of all other devil fruits in this world, this is the key to why the Sun God is a god. The second option is naturally the ability of the Soul Tinder obtained from Juhabak. This ability is the foundation of the Sun Knights and God Knights of the Illuminati, and it is the fundamental reason why Du Lin can organize such a huge force today. The reason why the Sun God can shock the world is also the key. Which ability should be improved? Du Lin actually didn't hesitate too long. Devil Fruit ability, of course. It's not that the ability of Soul Tinder is not strong. In fact, this ability is the key to the fortune of the final boss friend Habak in the Shinigami world. In terms of personality, it even surpasses the entire pirate world. But the key point is that this upgrade card is for the ability. The level of the ability to be improved is a quantitative improvement on the original basis, not a qualitative change. This improvement is probably better than nothing for the Soul Fire. But the ability of Devil Fruit is different. The ability of the Phoenix Fruit has already been developed to the limit by Du Lin, so what will happen if it is forcibly improved again on this basis? After Du Lin finally confirmed his choice and made the Devil Fruit ability an upgrade object, the blue light spot instantly penetrated into his body. Then, flames emerged from Du Lin's body, enveloping his entire body. He turned into a blazing pyro. Well, Du Lin opened his eyes slightly, but there was no expression in his eyes. He felt that he had entered into a world of flames, looking up, down, left, and right, all he could see was the raging flames. Crazy. In the flames, a sharp cry suddenly sounded. Du Lin looked up and saw that the flame above suddenly parted. The sun descended from the gap. The huge fireball radiated enough light and heat to melt everything, but when it landed on Du Lin, it just made him feel warm and comfortable. The fireball spread its wings in the next instant and turned into a big white flame bird. It screamed and bumped towards Du Lin. Du Lin didn't panic at all. Instead, he smiled and opened his hands, wanting to hug the oncoming firebird. Boom. In this piece of heaven and earth, flames instantly filled everything. In the real world, the flames wrapped around Du Lin's body suddenly disappeared. Business as usual. Something seemed to have changed in him, but it didn't seem to. After a few seconds of silence, the corners of Du Lin's mouth gradually raised. He raised his right hand. A flame burst out from his palm. But at this time, this is not a golden flame, nor a yellow flame, nor a red flame. But a white flame like never before. It's really, really good. The corner of Du Lin's mouth was raised. This is awakening. His Devil Fruit ability has already been developed to the limit, so of course, the result of forcibly improving the ability on this basis is the awakening of Devil Fruit ability. Not all Devil Fruits can be awakened, not everyone has the ability to awaken their Devil Fruits. Du Lin's Devil Fruit was designed by him, so of course there is no situation where it cannot be awakened. With the help of the upgrade card, there is no possibility that Du Lin will not be able to advance the fruit to the point of awakening. 160 It was so logical, the pterosaur fruit awakened. The fruit designed by Du Lin is already pervert enough. Relying on the ability of this fruit, Du Lin has never failed to run wild in the sea. But this is still not the true power of this fruit. Only now when this Devil Fruit is really awakened, the ability called the Sun God will be truly stimulated. In the next second, Du Lin had turned into a ray of light, which directly penetrated the roof above and appeared above the sky. Above the empty sky, Du Lin spread his wings. A white flame that had never been seen before was blazing at this moment, and a big bird made of flames appeared in the sky. What is that? In the square, Yamato and Hancock, who were fighting fiercely, raised their heads in astonishment at the same time. White flame bird. As God, Hancock hesitated. Both appearance and aura have changed a lot from the original God. Then, the light began to spill. Okay, it's warm. Hancock said in a daze. Well, it feels warm. Yamato also closed his eyes comfortably. But Gion, who was watching their battle nearby, widened his eyes in disbelief. She saw that both girls were growing up. Chapter 312 Life, Creation and Destruction. Find the trail of I am. It's not a growth in the psychological sense, but a real physical growth. Gion could hardly believe her eyes. The bodies of the two little girls are growing at a speed that is almost visible to the naked eye. Become tall and slender, the fat on the body even starts to accumulate somewhere. What the hell is this? Gion exclaimed in disbelief. Then something equally shocking happened. She suddenly found that the ground began to shake. Earthquake. This idea flashed in Gion's mind, but she immediately denied it. Are you kidding? This is Sky Island. They are located on the Sea of Clouds 10,000 meters above the sea. Where did the earthquake come from? So, what happened? When Gion was in astonishment, she suddenly saw that above, the large vines that penetrated through several platforms and supported the entire temple were continuously extending upwards. The huge vine was trembling, stretching its body like a snake, and it was constantly getting taller. And in places that Gion couldn't see, all the plants on the entire island of gods began to grow wildly. The seeds that have just been planted in the ground are quickly breaking out of the ground, and the seedlings are also rapidly maturing, and those that have grown to a certain stage will begin to bloom and bear fruit immediately. Even the trees in the forest are growing. What happened? Everyone realized that something was wrong. Enel flashed to the square first, followed by Mahadekasara and other knights of God. They looked up at the firebird in the sky. That guy, what is he doing again? Kaido frowned tightly. He can feel the changes in his body. Therefore, it was difficult to hide the panic in my heart. In the sky, Du Lin flapped his wings, looking down at the entire island below. This is growing up. The voice of God was smiling. In mythology, what does yin-yang symbolize? Growth is definitely one of the most important images. It is also understandable that the radiance of God has the ability to promote growth, right? After the pterosaur fruit awakened, Du Lin has a new ability. The first one is called life. Du Lin flapped his wings lightly, and white flames fell from the sky. It landed on the surrounding floating clouds. Then the clouds opened their eyes one after another, and surrounded them with laughter. God. The clouds laughed, and their eyes were white flames that shone. But in the next second, the flames in their eyes disappeared, and they returned to the appearance of ordinary clouds again. The ability called life gives Du Lin the real power to manipulate life. But of course, there are also some references in this. The brilliance of the sun can make the immature mature, and it can also restore the youth of the old. This certainly draws on the ability to ripen fruit and regress fruit. God can play with the soul, give life to the dead, and can take life. Needless to say, this is the power of the soul fruit of Charlotte Linlin. Finally, the soul of God is immortal, and the body can continue to be reborn from nirvana. This is barely original. It's a pity that Du Lin already has the power of the dog spell, and this ability is not very useful. This is the power of life. The second power is called creation. The sun is the starting point of everything and the root of the world. The god of the sun is the god of creation. God has the power to create. The big white bird flapping its flame wings returned to its human form. At this time, Du Lin is the same as the orc mode in the form of a phoenix, and his body is completely composed of flames. It's just that the wings on the back have disappeared, replaced by a huge halo formed by the expansion of the flame ring at the back of the head, which seems to be a corona, the crown of a god. Du Lin stretched out his right hand. Create. An apple appeared in his hand. Then apples became pears, watermelons, grapes. In the end, it turned into a spherical, fiery red fruit with spiral patterns. Mara fruit. But Du Lin shook his head lightly again, and the fruit in his hand turned into a flame again. God has the power to create, able to transform fire into any non-living object. But strictly speaking, it is a force of replication. After all, God cannot create anything beyond his understanding. What God can create is only what he has seen and what he can understand. Of course, creation doesn't come for free. Strictly speaking, this should be regarded as a kind of alchemy, although Wang Lin borrowed the ability of Emiya Shuru's projection. The ability to transform flames into various items using the power of the soul of God as a medium. The things created are essentially the transformation of flames, and they will return to their original state after the energy is exhausted. But until the energy is exhausted, the created item has the same effect as the original. This is a truly divine ability. The last ability to destroy is very simple, and it is strengthened on the original basis. Incarnate as a god, Du Lin not only possesses the power of the sun at the spiritual level, but also adds the power zone of the sun at the physical level. In other words, he is actually equivalent to a miniature sun at this time. Can easily play the kind of sun flare Madara bombing. In addition, the various abilities of the phoenix form have also been normalized. The ability to incinerate everything has become a reality. In addition to being able to easily burn the soul, the flame in this form now has the same ability to burn everything in the true sense like Leviathan. These are the abilities Du Lin got after awakening. It doesn't sound complicated, but it is indeed an ability that can be called the power of God. After testing his abilities for a while, Du Lin returned to his normal state and fell slowly. After awakening, he became a miniature sun, and even his physical strength has become astonishingly strong. The shattered flames that could only be used at will by relying on the over-limit mode have now become routine methods. In one word, invincible. Du Lin doesn't think there is anyone in this world who can stop him a little bit. If I am driving his ultimate weapon, the good appears in front of him now, Du Lin can be sure that victory is only a matter of time. After all, this fruit was obtained by spending a lot of money before he crossed over. Now that it has evolved to a complete form of invincibility is a matter of course. Unless now another Krypton guy who also time traveled came to compete with him. Otherwise, how could it be possible to fight against him with a small hacker like I am? Now, instead, this body that also cost a lot of money is restricting the further display of abilities. God, was that just now? The moment Du Lin fell, Mahad asked in shock. Du Lin just smiled slightly, and didn't mean to answer. He said, go find the whereabouts of I am. God, what do you mean? Enel's eyes widened, and he took the initiative to pursue. This is the first time. It's time to end this boring fight. Du Lin said leisurely again. They are already invincible, what is the opponent like I am still doing? Chapter 313 Pluton Trail. Invincible, there is no doubt that he already has the power of invincibility in the true sense. At least in this sea, there is no second guy who can compete with him a little bit. Even Joey Boye who was 800 years ago, or I am who also surpassed the limit. Based on their strength recorded in the history text left by Joey Boy, Du Lin felt that he had the power to kill them in seconds. However, 800 years have passed, and I am, even if he is a pig, should become stronger in a long time. Not to mention that he is not a pig, on the contrary, he is a guy with outstanding strength and scheming. But it doesn't matter. Invincible means absolutely invincible. It's just so confident, it's just so inflated. This is the confidence that the awakened pterosaur fruit gave Du Lin, and he couldn't wait to send I am a little shock from the sun god. However, I am didn't give him this chance. No one knows where they went. When Morgans came to report the news to Du Lin, he showed embarrassment. They should be riding that weapon and hiding in a corner of the sea, spying on us in the quiet 813. But there is absolutely no thought exposed to us. Quote. Du Lin felt a little annoyed. Isn't that just a polar opposite? In the past, it was I am and his world government who were searching for their whereabouts, but now, instead, it was him who searched for them. Do your best to find it. Du Lin stretched his waist and said lazily, I'll let Stussy's guy try to find information from inside the CPU. God. Morgan suddenly raised his head and gave Du Lin a cautious look. Du Lin knew that he had suggestions, but he was afraid that he might be presumptuous, so he nodded slightly. Let's talk. The guys from the government are probably planning to hide in the shadows and attack us suddenly when we show our weaknesses. Morgans immediately said, so can we do the opposite and give them a way to lure them out? He buried his head deeply. Forgive me for presumptuousness, but I think if you want me to be the bait. Du Lin smiled. It's a good idea. But is the world government really, BEFD, so gullible? After all, he had already shown himself in the battle at Shueishan Qingdao before, even if it was such a surprise attack, he could calmly deal with it. It would be a strange thing if IM would be so blind that every time he showed his whereabouts, he could not wait to rush over. If he was really that stupid, it was unlikely that he would have taken the world from Joey Boy 800 years ago. But, anyway, he could try. So be it. Although invincible, Du Lin's life is still quite ordinary. The qualitative change in strength did not bring about any major changes. If I have to say it, it is his ability to create fire, because all-round evolution has also evolved simultaneously. Both Kaido and Katakuri have been bestowed by him with advanced fire. Although Kaido is still cursing, his loyalty is not low. On the island of the Gods Square, a battle is on. A tall, beautiful woman with long black hair flying around was fighting with a woman with white hair and red horns. Come on, sister. Off the field, the little girls with green hair and yellow hair were cheering and cheering for their eldest sister. On the other side, Kaido, who was sitting with his arms crossed, also sneered. Gion Rear Admiral, who sat weakly by the side, bit his lip, his eyes were still in disbelief. Yamato is obviously only 9 years old this year, and that annoying kid Hancock is only 12 years old. Both of them are clearly little devils, but now they have turned into mature women in their 20s. What kind of ability is this? Gion almost stood up and turned his head. On one side of the square, the god of the sun was lazily leaning on the arms of many maids, enjoying the tranquility of the afternoon. Ha! Accompanied by 2 loud shouts almost at the same time, the 2 figures stepped back at the same time. Both Hancock and Yamato's faces were a little flushed, and they looked at each other with eyes full of displeasure and provocation. But unfortunately, their strengths are very close. Young bodies have become mature, this is not just an appearance, their bodies have indeed spanned a long period of time. This means that the monster body inherited from Kaido has been fully developed, and all aspects of strength have been greatly improved. But Hancock isn't vegetarian either. Although she does not have a monster body like Yamato, she has the flame bestowed by God. After maturity, physical strength is greatly enhanced, and the flame power that can be used is also rapidly increased. So the two can only fight on par. Damn it, I must not be old enough. Hancock gritted her teeth and didn't accept the result, so she ran towards Du Lin in a hurry. God. Let me become more mature, I must take care of this guy for you. The corner of Du Lin's mouth twitched while he was drowsy. The body that grows naturally with the passage of time, because it has not been exercised, so of course it is impossible to be strong. It can't grow much stronger if it grows again. It's almost here today. Du Lin snapped his fingers casually. Hancock, who was running towards him, and Yamato, who was standing there, their bodies instantly returned to their original state. It doesn't make them smaller, it just removes the ability to cover them. Whether it is growth or regression, in the final analysis, it is a kind of Du Lin's ability. If he wants to undo it, he will naturally be able to do so. In addition, these abilities can also be released by completely defeating Du Lin. This point is very much in compliance with Devil Fruit's rules. Tisk, is it worthy of being called a god? This ability is unbelievable no matter how many times you see it. Kaido hummed softly. This god is basically a compound demon fruit power, possessing a bunch of abilities at the same time. So only God can do such a thing. Ignoring Hancock's pleading, Du Lin fell into a deep sleep. Children still need to grow up slowly to mature. There is no need to pluck the seedlings to encourage them to grow. At night, Du Lin just woke up. And Jia, the head maid, told him a piece of news. Mr. Bullet called, on a whim. He's found Pluton. Chapter 314 Pluton. Test. The historical text left by Joey Boy is more than just his grievances and grievances with IM. What he left to future generations is not just the inexplicable so-called will of D and the treasures that covered the entire island. Treasures are only for latecomers to develop their foundations, and the real key lies in ancient weapons. Joey Boy is quite prescient. He knows very well that after their defeat, IM and his world government will definitely suppress the technology industry in the world. After the arrival of latecomers, maybe there is no technology in the sea that can compete with IM. Then it is too difficult to win by the strength of the individual alone. So Joey Boy left 3 ancient weapons. Strictly speaking, 2 pieces. The weapon named Uranus was taken away by IM during the war. All that remains are Pluton and Poseidon. Joey Boy doesn't know which mermaid princess will become the new big Poseidon, so he can only leave the news that Poseidon is the mermaid princess, and let the latecomers judge for themselves. Only Pluton, the legendary ultimate weapon that can destroy a city with a single shot, Joey left the exact location. Although in Alabasta's historical text he has stated that Pluton is in Wano Kuni, but there is no exact location. It wasn't until this historical text that Joey Boye actually left Pluton exactly where. As a matter of course, Du Lin immediately let Bullet start digging. It didn't take a few days, and the result was already there. Du Lin immediately went to Wano Kuni. A boring life can only be a little bit fun in these things. He also deliberately brought Kaido. After all, this guy stayed at Wano Kuni for so long because of Pluton. Now that he has finally found it, of course he must be taken there to open his eyes immediately. Now that Du Lin wants to go to Wano Kuni again, there is no need to turn on the overrun mode. With the awakening of the pterosaur fruit, Du Lin's physical strength has reached an astonishing level, and the flying thunder god technique that only crosses the world is not a huge consumption. 1 second he was still on the island of the gods, and the next he brought Kaido to Bullet's side. It was already dusk on the island of the gods, but it was ascension on Wano Kuni's side. God, you are here. Bullet knelt down in front of Du Lin respectfully. Fortunately, I finally found it. Whoa, looks like you've got a big project, Bullet. Du Lin looked at the scene ahead and smiled lightly. At this time, they were on a certain coast of Wano Kuni, and there should be a mighty inland sea in front of them. Wano Kuni has special geographical conditions, surrounded by towering rock walls, which wrap the inland sea. The part that protrudes from the sea in the center is where Wano Kuni's native land is located. But now the inner sea has disappeared. At this time, the huge rock wall in front of it broke through a huge gap of several thousand meters, and the seawater in the inner sea has probably flowed into the sea along this gap. In other words, Wano Kuni was born. The inland sea, which originally prevented people from the country from going out and people from outside from entering, has thus become history. After the disappearance of the inner sea, this is displayed in front of Du Lin, and it is not simply a seabed filled with mud. There are also many towns. Wano Kuni did not have these rock walls that surrounded the entire country back then, let alone the shadow of this inland sea. It's just that at a certain moment in the past, due to some reasons, the country was forced to be closed, a huge rock wall was built, and the Yinhai gradually took shape. Du Lin feels very visual, but unfortunately there are no giants hidden in these rock walls. Now that the ocean is gone, the once submerged homeland of Wano Kuni is of course revealed. According to the historical text left by Joey Boy, the ancient weapon named Banquet Master was buried in a certain underground dock in Wano Kuni. Now that the sea water has all receded, and the exact address has been known, it is of course not difficult to dig out Pluton. Du Lin looked down. The big black boat was lying quietly below. The first reaction is that it is huge. Not even the highest spec warships of the naval headquarters can match the sheer size of this ship. The dark ship body is equipped with various large and small gun barrels. One can imagine how fierce the firepower of this ship is. Is this the Pluton? Asking for flowers. Kaido couldn't hide the excitement in his eyes. The reason why he wanted to occupy this Wano Kuni in the past was because of this thing in front of him. Although he couldn't get Pluton in the end, but since he was given by God, it's the same. It should not be said that it was taken by God, but it is even better. Have you checked? Du Lin said. No, I just dug it out of the ground, and don't wait for you to decide what to do with it. Bullet was very respectful. Du Lin nodded slightly. Du Lin didn't see any movement. The ground below suddenly swelled, turned into a huge arm, and lifted the big boat to Du Lin's front. Ability to dominate. 0.0. Go and see, Du Lin said softly. So the three boarded the deck of the big ship. When Du Lin stepped lightly on the deck, the big ship suddenly moved. God. A dull voice suddenly sounded from below. Welcome to you. Suddenly the ship spoke. But neither Kaido nor Bullet is any different. For a god, this ability is not surprising. Only Kaido would sigh in his heart that this ability is very similar to Linlin. Take us on a tour of the ship. Du Lin said so. Quote. Du Lin is familiar with the design of Pluton, but if there is a ship to lead them, he can understand the structure of the ship better. So the three of them started their tour on this ship. Although it has been buried underground for 800 years, except for some substances on the surface, the interior of Pluton is still clean as new, even the air does not seem dull. The interior of the big ship is very large, divided into many functional areas. Living areas, ammunition depots, storage rooms, control rooms, energy cabins, the list goes on and on. When he came to the energy storehouse, Du Lin was slightly numb. This is what Vegapunk has been thinking about for years, a near-infinite source of energy. The powerful firepower of Pluton needs to be supported by this thing to truly show itself. Then, let's test it, the power of Pluton. Chapter 315 Firepower. Re-expansion. The big black ship was slowly moving forward on the sea. Behind the big ship is Wano Kuni. The offshore current at Wano Kuni is very chaotic, Uzumaki is everywhere, and huge reefs stick out of the sea from time to time. Even though the biggest obstacle to landing in the country has disappeared, the current conditions around here are still enough to stop many ships who want to go to this country. But these currents are meaningless to this big black ship. It easily crushed all the Uzumaki, and even the reefs that protruded from the sea were smashed to pieces. Sturdy. Unusually strong. Du Lin knew that the entire ship was made of a special alloy, which could not be destroyed by conventional means. Otherwise, Joey Boy would not have used him as a trump card 800 years ago. After all, what's the use of the 973 with strong firepower? If the firepower is not enough, it will also be vulnerable to the real strong. Sneak in quietly, and single-handedly destroy it. Of course, you have to be strong enough to have enough time to play output. This is a very simple reason. After the big ship traveled a little distance on the sea. Right here, Du Lin said, this distance should not affect Wano Kuni anymore. Pluton, show me your history. Yes, God, please witness. A dull voice came from below, which was also a declaration of loyalty from the big ship to his god. In the next second, on the big ship, those densely packed gun barrels began to move. Pluton is extraordinarily large, with a length of more than 500 meters. The manpower required to control such a huge ship is huge. But if the ship already has its own life and can control itself, it will be different. Let me show you the power of the main gun first. Pluton said so respectfully. Pluton's main gun has a total of third gate. Seen from the front of the ship, They are arranged vertically from top to bottom, and the length of each door is close to 100 meters, which is a real giant. At this time, one of the main guns was raised high, and a little light began to flicker in the muzzle. Start countdown to launch, 3. As Pluton's voice began to count down, the light in the muzzle became more and more dazzling. 1. Emission. The light blooms. The sun in the sky seemed to be dimmed because of it. A majestic cannon flew out of the muzzle, and it swept across the sky in an instant. Then one fell into the sea far away. Can the beam cannon actually turn? What black technology? Such thoughts floated in Du Lin's mind. Then the next moment, boom, a huge white light blooms on the sea in the distance. The huge ball of light produced by the explosion almost shot straight into the sky, enveloping the entire sea area in the distance ahead. Until now, Du Lin's area was still silent. The loud noise finally came with earth-shattering power later on. The world seemed to be shattered, and the violent shock wave turned into a storm that swept everything on the sea. The huge waves came one after another, but they still couldn't submerge the big ship. Ooh, power. In the midst of the storm, Kaido was already laughing loudly. If this cannon fires, even an island will be directly blasted into dust. Pluton, the legendary warship that can sink an island with a single shot, really lives up to its reputation. Bullet also had a look of exclamation on his face. My strength doesn't stop there. Pluton spoke slowly. He couldn't wait to show all his power to his god, and the whole cannon was fired next. On the hull of the huge battleship, all the muzzles began to move at this time. All the muzzles were raised slightly, aiming in a certain direction. Immediately afterwards, laugh. It is clearly a force to bring destruction, but the sound of Pluton's shelling is almost negligible. If you don't listen carefully, you may not even hear it at all. A beam of light swept away towards the distance. Almost in the next second, the sea began to riot again. The majestic beam of light soared into the sky, almost reaching into the clouds. But its height is nothing compared to its width. The white light of the explosion was about to engulf the Pluton here almost immediately. The sea was directly blasted through. While the sea water was evaporated into a large amount of white mist, it retreated rapidly. A huge abyss appeared on the surface of the sea. Oh, the power is several times greater than the one just now. Kaido grinned. If this kind of shelling falls on Wano Kuni, it would be enough to destroy that kind of island directly. Although the area of Wano Kuni is much larger than that of ordinary islands, it is also only a few times the difference. Good. Du Lin nodded slightly approvingly. As expected, it is the ultimate weapon created by gathering all the resources of Joy Boy and the remaining Burka people 800 years ago. As far as this firepower is concerned, it is already enough for most people on the sea to feel desperate. This is simply their incomprehensible strength. One shot down, no matter what pirate emperor or marine admiral you are, you will all become scum. However, the gun in Im's hands is also not bad, and it is even better than Pluton in other aspects. Otherwise, why did Joey Boy fail? Of course it's because I can't beat it. The thing in Im's hand is the strongest weapon in the true sense that the Burka people spared no effort to manufacture in their heyday. In addition to being simply comparable to Pluton's firepower, it also has another scary place. But Du Lin didn't care about that. Horrible. Is there a great sun god to fear? My power 2.0 is only for you. Pluton's humble voice sounded. Du Lin smiled. So now everything is ready, there is no need to wait for the Vegapunk guy to build the second Pluton. Du Lin wished that tomorrow would be the moment of the final battle. So, where the hell are you guys? It's time to start a new round of expansion. Du Lin stretched his waist and said lazily, go and spread my brilliance to a wider world. Both the priests and the Sun Knights have accumulated better, and now the amount of fire that can be produced at one time has also increased significantly. Indeed, it is time to start a new round of expansion. With the expansion, that guy will always show up. Chapter 316 Marine in Turbulent Times. The expansion is about to start again. Mahad began to summon the priests, and Fram was also stepping up training the Sun Knights. Expansion, of course, must use them as the vanguard. Even those priests and Sun Knights who had been dispatched long ago to spread the glory of the gods on the islands to show the majesty of the gods were called back immediately. Today, the islands where they are located have basically been pacified. Most of the residents and most of the rulers are already faithful believers in the gods. It is no longer necessary to station too many people on those islands. These priests and Sun Knights, who are already quite proficient in business, will then serve as the pioneers of expansion to continue to expand the territory for the gods. Tritter returned to the long-lost island of the gods, but before he could rest for a while, he was immediately called over by the god-tier officer. I have a very important task for you. Your Excellency, the god-tier officer did not have any foreshadowing, and said straightforwardly. Yes. Tritter was also not pretentious, and nodded without hesitation. I don't know what the mission is. Mahad looked at the man with admiration. There is no doubt that among all the priests, this priest Tritter is the most outstanding. He contributed a lot to the expansion of the light over the years, and many difficult islands were eventually captured by him. Although he has been on the field all the time, in fact Mahad has regarded Twitter as his deputy. This man is the veritable number 2 figure of the Illuminati. Go to the kingdom of giants. Mahad said in a deep voice. Before, God has sent 2 priests of the giant race, but the missionary work has not made much progress. This time the expansion of the giant kingdom is also within the coverage, such a slow progress is no longer allowed. The Kingdom of Giants. Tritter nodded slightly, but his brows were also slightly frowned. That country is the most powerful country in the world, and I'm afraid it will be difficult for me alone. The Kingdom of Giants is different from those island countries in Paradise and the Four Seas. The force they possess is by no means something that ordinary Sun Knights can suppress. And if you want to preach, the protection of force is indispensable. You don't have to worry about that. Mahad said calmly, when I need to fight, I will go there immediately, and the Knight of God will be on standby at any time. Then I'll be fine. A smile spread across Tritter's face. Since His Excellency the God-tier officer will personally act, there will be no problem. In Tritter's concept, God is naturally supreme in this world, and no one in this world can compare with him. Under the gods, in the human domain, the most fishy one is naturally God-tier officer Your Excellency. He is not only the God-tier officer who serves the god, but also the chief of the God Knights under the command of the god. As long as he is willing to make a move, even the Kingdom of Giants is not a problem. Not to mention the other Knights of God. Very good. Mahad nodded slightly. You haven't been back for a long time, go to Vegapunk to get some potions before you leave. Although Tritter was one of the first batch of priests, he didn't eat the man-made devil fruit. So he has the qualifications to use the ability injection. After installing Paramesha Devil Fruit's ability injection, the strength of the Sun Knights has obviously improved to a higher level. After all, among the many Paramesha Devil Fruits collected by Du Lin, there are really some very pervert ones. Tritter came back in a hurry, and then left in a hurry. Like him, there are also a large number of priests and Sun Knights. A new round of expansion has begun. This time the expansion is still along the original track. The 4 sea areas in the southeast, northwest, and New World. The original territorial boundaries are broken, and the priests and Sun Knights will continue to move forward, letting the sun's rays spread over more sea areas. The sudden action of the Illuminati, which had been quiet for a long time, naturally caused an uproar in the whole world. Especially not long ago, the god of the sun found the legendary big secret treasure to make a big splash on the sea. Are they next to have the whole world in their hands? It is really hard not to guess like this. After all, everyone is saying that as long as you get the big secret treasure, you will get everything in the world. But the ones who were most shocked by this incident were, of course, the enemies of the Illuminati. For example, Marine, finally starting to expand again. After Naval Headquarters Marineford was completely destroyed, Marine also abandoned the idea of finding a permanent naval headquarters at this time, just like the world government. After all, he is against that group of people, who knows when that mad sun god will come to make another surprise attack. Marine can no longer afford the loss of a second Marineford. Marine's headquarters is now a huge warship that has been moving on the sea. The top executives of naval headquarters all work on this big ship. When you need supplies, go to the nearby Marine base to resupply. Although it is troublesome, it is still stable for the time being. However, after knowing that the Illuminati began to expand again, the stable Marines could no longer sit still. The grumpy Sakazuki gritted his teeth. Our branch in Shihai has been attacked again. He is no longer Sakazuki Vice Admiral at this time. The Marines call him that at this time, Akainu Admiral. The former Marine Marshal Kong was killed by the Sun God during the Battle of the Sphinx. But Marine can't be without a commander all the time, so the new Marshal has already taken over at this time. As for candidates, Marine really has no choice. Ever the best Marshal candidate, Sengoku is still unconscious at this time. Therefore, there are only 2 people who are qualified to succeed the Marshal. Hero 380 Garp and Black Arm Zephyr. One of these 2 is the hero of Marine, and the other is the teacher of the mainstay of Marine at this time, and Admiral, the predecessor of Marine. Apart from the 2 of them, naturally no one else is qualified to succeed Marshal Marine. It was Black Arm Zephyr who would eventually become the new Marine Marshal. Although the hero Garp is more vocal, he said that he prefers to take the lead and is not interested in such things as sitting in the rear and strategizing. He doesn't even want to do Admiral, let alone a park. So Zephyr became the new Marine Admiral, and logically, the 3 alternate admirals also became the new Marine Admiral. However, there are private rumors in Marine that this generation of admirals is the weakest among the previous generations of admirals. None of the 3 admirals have reached their prime yet. But of course, no one cares about this kind of thing at this moment. Admiral is not bad. Some time ago, the world government launched a big conscription, but nothing was recruited. Teacher Zephyr. Sakazuki Admiral looked at His Excellency the Marshal sitting on the main seat. What should we do next? Not only for that group of people, but also for the government. What the hell should I do? Is there really an immortal monster hiding above the heads of the celestial dragons? For 800 years, our Marine is really just some D's private army. At this moment when the whole world is in turmoil, Marine is also at a loss. Chapter 317 Giant Kingdom. What should we do next? In the captain's cabin of the large ship that serves as the temporary Marine headquarters, the top executives of naval headquarters gathered together at this time. Marine Marshal Black Arm Zephyr. 3 Admiral, Akainu Kazaru Iokiji. Marine Hero Garp the Fist. Marine Chief Staff Crane Vice Admiral. All those who were able to come back were back at this time. Although even now Marines have missions stationed all over the world, even the admirals should assign one to patrol the sea. Even according to the original plan, there should be an admiral stationed at the G1 base to prevent the pirates from the New World from attacking Mariajoy. But now, there is no need for this at all. The G1 base has been taken out, Mariajoy has been destroyed, and even the great pirates of New World have now been completely wiped out. Objectively speaking, the workload of Marines is indeed greatly reduced now. Although it is thanks to their most hated enemy. But at this time, there was another reason why Marine concentrated all his strength. That is the content published in the newspaper where the Illuminati was located before. Marines are really hard not to be shocked by this. Don't get me wrong, Marine executives aren't too interested in history from 800 years ago. What about betrayal? What about conspiracy? No matter what happened in that blank history, the unchangeable fact is that it is indeed the world government that has guarded this world for 800 years. It is indeed the world government that has supported Marine to fight against evil forces in these 800 years. Therefore, the Marines don't care much about this aspect. But there is only one thing, the Marines can't stand it. That is behind the world government, on the head of the celestial dragons, there is an immortal god. Then their work would be pointless. The Marine soldiers who fought for justice are now someone's private army. This kind of thing is unacceptable to the Marines anyway. Although the Marine also accepted the five elders in the past, the commander of the celestial dragons, but this is completely different from an immortal ruler. In the past, the world government advertised that there is no supreme king in the world, even the world government itself must follow the principle of justice and democracy. The World Summit is the highest decision-making body of the world government, and even the will of the five elders have to succumb to it. But now, the real situation is that one person's will surpasses more than 100 countries under the government. That was originally intended to symbolize the absolute fairness and justice of the world government, so no one will be able to sit on it, and the Void Throne actually has its owner. How can Marines accept such a thing? Zephyr immediately summoned all the senior leaders of the headquarters. He thought they should have a meeting. Maybe it's just the slander of that group. Kizaru said tentatively. He felt that something was wrong with the current situation. Seeing the righteous indignation of his colleagues, Marine will not betray the world government next time, will he? In that case, there really would be no room for them in this world. I'll call the five elders right away. Zephyr said seriously, we must let them explain this matter. Immediately the call was made to the five elders somewhere in the world. Of course it's fake. The five elders tried their best to appease them, it's all the slander of that D************. The Void Throne has always been vacant, and the world government has always represented democracy and freedom since ancient times. At this juncture, Marine cannot be alienated from the government. The enemies he faced were already troublesome enough. If his strength was weakened, it would be really useless. So even if you deny the existence of Master I Am, you must appease Marine. Then, Lord Five Elders. Zephyr felt a little more at ease, and then he asked, facing the expansion of the Illuminati, what should we do? The five elders are also very troubled by this. Yeah, what should I do now? The momentum of the Illuminati's expansion is mighty and unstoppable. If you choose to turn a blind eye, then I am afraid that half of the world will be occupied by that group of people. Then they would already be the new world government. After all, don't forget that there are still nearly half of the non-world government member countries in the world, that is to say, of the remaining half of the world, there are still 10 half that are not under the jurisdiction of the world government. Even if they have been trying to win over these non-affiliated countries in recent years. But if you choose to confront them, then I am afraid the situation will not get any better. After all, the strength of those Sun Knights is simply not something that the Marine branches can fight against. To compete with those guys, at least an officer above Marine Rear Admiral must be dispatched. But where does Marine still have so many Rear Admirals and Vice Admirals at this time? Compared with the thousands of Sun Knights, the strength accumulated by the Marines at this time is really not enough. But if Marine dispatched an officer above Admiral, with that D's teleportation ability, he could immediately send the God Knights under his command to support, then Marine might be completely destroyed. This is almost a dead end. Even the five elders feel overwhelmed and don't know what to do next. Zephyr just waited quietly. It was not until a long time later that the voice came from the phone set. Temporarily, hold back. Zephyr closed his eyes in pain. So it can only sit back and watch the light guide it, and continue to expand without any scruples. What will the world look like after all? Zephyr could only sigh. And the thought in his mind could not go away. Take an IM, just so it really doesn't exist. The world government has given up resistance, so the expansion of the Illuminati will naturally be unstoppable. The Sun Knights flapping their wings of flames roamed across the sea. They show off their power all over the world, and every time they arrive in a country, they will unscrupulously sprinkle flames, easily frightening the entire country. Then it was the turn of the priests. In just a few days, the world covered by the Sun God has expanded by nearly half. At the same time, Tritter had already arrived at his destination following the instructions of the God-tier officer. Kingdom of Giants. In the first moment, he had already met the people who came to receive him. Ha 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 ha. Welcome, brother Tritter. The two giants laughed loudly. Next, I need your help, Dong. Tritter nodded slightly. So what's the situation in this country now? Chapter 318 Raiding the Kingdom of Giants. The two apostles of the great sun god in the Kingdom of Giants, the giant Dory and the giant Brokey. They are the world's first giant priests, and they are also the executors appointed by the gods to attack the giant kingdom. But their strategy was not smooth. Hey, this is the first time I have a headache because of our giant's aggressive character, ha 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 ha. Dory, with his long beard, laughed. He holds a huge wine glass in his left hand and a huge piece of barbecue in his right hand. While drinking, he gnaws on the meat and laughs loudly. Yeah, although I've always been proud of this incident, I'm sorry for God's expectation. On the other side, Brocky, who was sitting next to Dory, was similar, eating and drinking, and laughing loudly. God asked us to come back and spread his light all over Elbaf, but there has been no progress, really. Damn, we have failed God. The two giants were downcast and almost cried. The change in sentiment can be said to be a reversal of polarity. Tritter sat across from them, and in front of him was a piece of water, which was a huge barbecue for him, like a hill. He couldn't help but look around. In front of him was a huge bonfire burning fiercely. On top of the fire, the corpse of the unknown Sea Kings was being roasted until it was full of aroma. And around him, a group of giants surrounded him, like a mountain range, with continuous ups and downs. On the outside, there are large and exaggerated houses, almost every one of which is more than 100 meters high. This is Elbaf, the kingdom of giants, and where Tritter is now is the warrior village built by Dory and Brokey. The political structure of the kingdom of giants is very backward. Almost still in tribal times. On this vast island, there are one after another large and small villages. These villages are the basic political units of the kingdom of giants. Among them, the villages that are rich in warriors will be called warrior villages. In this country, apart from these large and small villages, there is only this city. That is the king's capital of this country, where the giant king is located. The village built by Dory and Brokey is called Sun Village by them. Because the people living in this village are all believers of the great sun god. Of course it wasn't because the two of them just happened to turn the whole village into believers of the sun god. Just because Dory and the companions they developed were rejected by their respective villages, they could only come out and form a new village by themselves. The kingdom of giants also has its own beliefs. And it's quite complicated. There are even several adjacent villages with different beliefs. So when a new belief emerges, there will naturally be contradictions. However, this contradiction is actually not that big. Otherwise, the two of Dory would not be able to preach safely and develop a bunch of believers. The reason why Dory and the others came here to build a village on their own was entirely because they were a bit too domineering. They are too fanatical about their beliefs, and it is difficult for them to accept other beliefs. Therefore, it is really difficult not to be rejected. But in fact, even so, it does not affect their missionary work. After all, no matter what the giant race speaks of strength, the spirit of martial arts runs through the history of this race. Even preaching must rely on force to speak. At this time, almost without exception, the believers developed by the two of Dory were beaten up before they voluntarily believed in the sun god. But the problem is that it is too slow. Beating them one by one like this, the speed of developing believers can only be described as a snail. Even after so many years, the number of followers Dory and Raji have developed is less than 10,000. Compared with the population of nearly 1 million BGFE in the kingdom of giants, it can only be regarded as a drop in the bucket. Tritter also felt a little headache after hearing what the two giants said. Can't you make the whole village believe in God by defeating the leader of warrior village? Tritter made a proposal that seemed plausible. No. Brokey shook his head regretfully. You probably don't know us, brother Tritter. The giant race's thirst for battle has been carved into their bones. When they see their leader defeated, they will only be more excited. Dory added. Then more excited to launch a challenge. Tritter twitched his lips. It was originally said that since the giants are so warlike, they should simply ask a few knights of the gods to take action, defeat the giant king, and let him order all the giants to believe in gods. But thinking about it now, if he really did that, the result would probably be a sensation in the entire giant kingdom. I am afraid that all the giants can't wait to participate in this shocking battle. In that case, not only will they not be able to bathe in the radiance of God, but it may cause a huge commotion instead. Tritter began to feel a headache. The problem is that the political system of the kingdom of giants is too backward, and there are not even any big nobles or big businessmen in the country. There is no way to play a guiding role and develop believers. It seems that it can only be hit with a real knife and a real gun. But when will the nearly 1 million giant race be their heads? So, can we just start a war? Forcibly defeat the country through war and force the giants to change their beliefs? There was a complicated and unspeakable light in Tritter's eyes. Sometimes if you want to better spread the glory of God, you do need some slightly extreme means. But, the means of war are probably not good enough. The aggressiveness of the giants is beyond doubt. To make them submit completely, the difficulty is not lower than that of preaching. Even if they have been defeated, I am afraid they will still choose to fight. Tritter pinched the bridge of his nose. The god-tier officer really gave himself a troublesome task. Or just leave the country alone. Ha 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 ha, it's really troublesome, right? Dory laughed loudly. There is no way. Our giant's desire for fighting and being strong is engraved in our bones and cannot be changed. Powerful. Tritter suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Mr. Dory, are you saying that apart from your desire to fight, you giants also desire to become more oppressive? Certainly. Dory looked puzzled. Did he not speak clearly enough? As that's so, there was already a smile on Tritter's face. If this is the case, then I seem to have a solution. Chapter 319. Giant Clan Martial Arts Conference. There is only one city in Elbaf, the Kingdom of Giants. That is the royal city of this country, the city where the Giant King is located. It is the totem land of the entire Giant Kingdom, and it is a place that all the giants must desperately guard. But it is said to be a city, but in fact it is nothing more than a large village. The ones distributed in the city are nothing more than large-scale wooden houses, which are not much different from the houses in the warrior village. Compared with those villages, the biggest difference is that the scale is much larger, with many houses and many people. This is what Tritter felt after coming to this city. He came to this city with only one purpose, to meet the king who ruled nearly 1,000,000 giants, the king of the most powerful country in the world, the king of giants. Although it sounds unrealistic for an outsider to meet a noble king, in fact, it is by no means difficult. Dory and Brokey, the two former captains of the giant soldier pirates, already have extraordinary prestige in this country. They used to be the pride of the entire giant family, and they were heroes who spread the power of giants to the world. Even the giant king respects them very much. The two of them came with Tritter, and it was really hard for His Majesty the giant king to lose face. Not to mention that Tritter himself was already very respectable. He is the messenger of the great sun god. How many people in this world dare to say no to his visit? Facts have proved that this is really not a difficult thing. Tritter and the others went straight to the gate of the palace, and Dory stepped forward to negotiate. He made a request to meet the giant king, especially after introducing Tritter's identity, and it didn't take long for him to get a response. The giant king would like to see them. The three entered the palace, and Tritter saw the giant king. Sitting on a huge stone throne, next to the throne is his weapon, which is an equally huge double-edged battle axe. The giant king seemed to be older than Dory and the other two, and he was considered older among giants, estimated to be over 200 years old. He wears a huge golden crown on his head, but there is almost no nobility that a king should have. On the contrary, he has a sturdy temperament, more like a warrior than a king, or a pirate. Thank you very much for taking some time out of your busy schedule to meet us, Your Majesty the Giant King. Tritter bowed down very sincerely. Kneeling is absolutely impossible. Only great gods are worthy of his kneeling in this world. Even Dory didn't kneel down, they just greeted each other with a smile. The Giant King looked down at Tritter carefully. In front of this gigantic giant, who was a head taller than Dory, Tritter was as small as a mouse. But his momentum was not weak at all. Looking up at the Giant King's eyes, it seemed that he was looking down at the giant in front of him. Priest Tritter from the Illuminati, right? The Giant King finally spoke slowly, his voice full of arrogance. I am very clear about your deeds in the sea, and the god of the sun is powerful, and I am even more familiar with it. The kingdom of giants is really not closed. Although the newspaper brought by the news bird is small for them, it is difficult to read it clearly. But it is also enough to bring news from overseas to this country. The giant said domineeringly, I also know that you let Dory and Brokey preach in Elbaf. I don't care. I will not interfere with the beliefs of my compatriots. But, the Giant King's voice instantly became dignified, and his eyes on Tritter also instantly became fierce. We are not interested in your war with the world government, and we are not allowed to participate in the battle. Tritter looked calm. It wasn't until he saw that the Giant King had calmed down a little that Tritter opened his mouth slowly. Mr. Dory, Mr. Brokey, what is the mission God has entrusted to you? Dory and Brokey were taken aback for a moment, and then Brokey said, who will let us return to Elbaf, and then let our compatriots also be able to bathe in the brilliance of the sun. So, Tritter looked at the Giant King calmly, this is what God meant. God's will is the goal of our desperate struggle. This country, will, and will only become the territory of God. Asking for flowers. Giant King, at the moment God made a decision, this country has no reason to stay out of it. Snort. The Giant King rose abruptly from his throne. When he clapped his hands on the armrest of the throne, Thite felt as if the whole palace was shaking. The Giant King picked up the double-edged battle axe that was put aside. Don't push yourself too hard, human. Would you like to taste the giant's fire? When His Majesty the King waved the battle axe in his hand, a gust of wind suddenly blew up in the palace. Kutan's hair was all messed up. It's you who don't get too pushy. But Tritter remained unmoved. Giant King, do you want to fight us, the great god? 0. The Giant King's huge body stiffened slightly at this moment. It is precisely because of the well-informed information and the very understanding of overseas affairs that I know how terrifying the god of the sun is. What that man possessed was enough power to easily destroy the entire country. Now it's just me. If you refuse to cooperate, then the army of the Sun Knights will be the next one, the Knights of the Gods will be your lords, and even the great gods will come now. Tritter said, do you want to watch this country fall for yourself? The Giant King was silent, and the battle axe in his hand fell slowly. As a king, he couldn't just think about fighting like an ordinary giant warrior, and he didn't care about everything else. What exactly do you want? The Giant King finally sighed. Don't worry. What God wants is neither destruction nor abuse, what she wants is faith. Tritter said, next, let's hold a giant martial arts tournament. Martial arts conference. Yes, the goal is for all citizens to elect the strongest in each warrior village, and then come to the capital to participate in the final battle. Tritter grinned, the goal is to pick out the strongest fighter in this country. That's a really great idea. Even though the Giant King was angry in his heart, he couldn't help admiring it at this moment. Chapter 320 is in full swing. His Majesty the King is going to hold an unprecedented martial arts tournament. The news quickly spread throughout the Giant Kingdom like thunder. And in an instant, all the citizens of this country are crazy about it. Everyone is praising loudly. Indeed, His Majesty the King can come up with such a great match. The giants are always aggressive, and it is not uncommon for them to use fighting to resolve disputes in daily life. The giants are pursuing fighting and pursuing strength. And this time is an official competition held by His Majesty the King, and the goal is to select the strongest fighter in the country. How can the warriors in the giant clan not be excited by this? The various warrior villages boiled almost instantly. Almost all giant warriors are ready to participate in this game. Needless to say, the young and strong fighters of the 497 immediately began to sharpen their swords. Even the old man whose hair and beard have completely turned white or the child who is still far from the age are eagerly preparing to join the battle. There is no doubt that this will be an unprecedented event. The whole giant kingdom is crazy about it. Wang Chung soon sent giants as referees to various warrior villages. This grand event is about to begin. To be honest, it's very urgent, and everything reveals anxiety. But the giants didn't care about this, they even wished that the sooner the better. Even if the battle hasn't started for a day, I feel like ants are crawling on my body, and I can't wait to start the fight right away. It will start right away. After the referee was in place, the qualifiers for each warrior village started immediately. All the giant warriors who signed up for the competition were divided into teams of 2, and then they would fight against each other. In the end, only 2 contestants from each village will qualify. They will go to the king's capital and have a final fight with the warriors selected from hundreds of giant cities. Finally decide the real strongest fighter in this country. The competition system is very simple, but it is enough to make the giant warriors go crazy. Sun Village, on the site temporarily opened at the entrance of the village. Next, Dory laughed, his huge two-handed sword wrapped in fiery flames. Just swiping his sword vigorously sent the giant who was defending with a shield in front of him flying, and the shield in his hand was directly shattered. Dory, Dory, the surrounding giants cheered vigorously. Off the field, Tritter stood on Brokey's shoulder, and he said softly, "The rest is up to you, Mr. Brokey. Crush all competitors with absolute power and become the undisputed strongest king of the giant kingdom." Ha 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 ha. Brokey patted his chest and laughed loudly, "Even give us brother Tritter. With the strength bestowed on us by God, there shouldn't be any opponent in this country that we can't defeat." Both mastered 2 kinds of flames, the healing flame and the destructive flame. This is actually equivalent to having 2 kinds of devil fruit, one for destruction and one for healing. These 2 flames alone are enough for them to gain the upper hand in the battle. Not to mention they also comprehend the power called Haki from the fire seed. Even the strength is quite high now. These configurations add up, they are indeed enough to walk sideways in this country. Even if they are placed overseas, with the blessing of the basic qualities of the giants, they still have the strength of Shichibukai level to say the least. This level of strength can be called a sweep in the giant kingdom. Tritter's plan was simple, aren't the warriors of the giant tribe eager to become stronger? Then show them how strong the warriors of God are. Or should I say let them see how strong the fighters who join the command of the gods will become. Since they are eager to become stronger, let them experience the real strength. As long as the giant warrior's desire to become stronger is aroused, then of course, Dory's Sun Village will soon usher in a large-scale expansion. The Sun Village qualifiers came to an end soon, and the victors were of course Dory and Brokey. After all, although the warriors in this village are all believers of God, only Dory has received the gift of God. Tritter and the 2 giant priests went to the capital together. At this time, all the preliminary preparations for the warrior village have come to an end. More than 200 giant warriors came from all over the country and gathered in the royal capital at the same time. Next, they will offer the most grand battle sacrifice to the people of the whole country. Yes, all the people in this country will watch this martial arts fortress. Because it was funded by the king, a temporary live broadcast site was set up in every warrior village. Some giants can watch the battle in the royal capital through the eyes of the video phone bug. All the people can't wait, they want to see the duel of the country's top fighters as soon as possible. They did not have to wait too long. Tritter wanted to see the effect in the shortest possible time. So the fighters who came to the capital just rested for 2 days. The race has begun. The 2 fighters from each warrior village were divided into 2 different competition areas. They also fought against each other, the winner advanced, and the loser was speechless. The fairest and most exciting competition system. The venue for the battle was on the square outside the palace. What the giants pay attention to is efficiency. Within 2 days, the first round of battles in the 2 divisions had been completely over. In this round of battles, some giant warriors with outstanding strength have become famous all over the country, making compatriots of the entire race cheer for them. And there are 2 of the most outstanding guys in this one. Ha 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 ha. Too weak. Even my flame armor can't be broken. Dory laughed out loud. 2.1 The opponent's huge warhammer hit his chest directly, but his body was covered with flame armor, and the heavy warhammer didn't even break the armor. Instead, Dory flicked it casually. The fiery flame turned into a long dragon, directly blasting the opponent in front of him into the air. Oh oh. There was a series of exclamations in an instant. This is the power God has given me. Dory yelled. Likewise, there's Brokey. Ha 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 ha. The battle axe wrapped in flames slammed down heavily. The ground was shattered and the wind howled, and the opponent flew out of the field directly. Brokey raised his battle axe high, and declared to all his compatriots, This is God-given 5. Oh 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 oh. The whole country is seething.